Welcome. So 10 o'clock, we are going to start. So this is the first time for everyone that is going to take the training, yeah? Because I gave it in 2013, it's pretty similar, but if it's the first time for everyone, that will be great. So you are on the RFID and NFC security training. What we are going to do is a really fast 4 hours overview of what is RFID, what's the difference between NFC, and it's a zipped version because this is meant to be an 8 hours workshop training, a full day training. So we are going to try to, I'm going to try to show everything in half of a day. So you can just ask any questions at any time. I'm just giving the workshop, so don't worry if you want to ask some questions in the middle of any part of what I'm doing. Okay? So feel free to stop. Hey, Noel, I don't understand. Please do it again. I want to try it. Everything. I'm going to use a lot of devices there, and I'm going to show you everything. So welcome. Thank you for coming. My name is Nahuel. I'm from Argentina. I have my little own entrepreneurship in Argentina. I usually do penetration testing stuff, web application security, almost. And in my spare time, I love to play with electronic devices, and that's where the RFID workshop came out. So you have my contact all over there. I believe that all the slides are going to be uploaded really soon, so don't worry. If you want the slides just after the training, I'm going to give you in PDF form, so don't worry. Okay, so let's start with a little motivation. I really like to start all my presentations with some kind of motivation, because yeah.
We're waiting for a translator.
Ah, okay. So the translator?
I don't know what channel.
Let's wait for Vladimir. Maybe he knows the channel. Maybe you can try from 1 to 10, like a brute forcing. Try to brute force the channel. Or let's see. Sorry, the translator is alive? Well, it's just an starting. I will go slow at this part. So we should wait for Vladimir in order to see where is the translator. So I will speak slowly. So we all have a motivation of being here. It's sunny out there, and we are inside a room trying to learn something. So we all have motivations. So from Pekka Imanen, he's a writer, a very well-known writer who wrote The Hacker Ethic and the Spirit of the Information Age. That's a pretty good book. So in this book, he describes hacking. For example, the prologue is written by Linus Torvalds. So it's a really good book to take a look. And while describing what is the hacking ethic and what is all this, the hacking scene, what is all that about, he describes a hacker, for example, as someone enthusiastic, someone who enjoys the work he's doing. And I believe that we all love what we are doing, and that's why we are here. So that's one of the... Sorry, Vlad, the channel for the translation?
We have no translation.
We have no translation at all?
Here now.
Okay. Sorry, we have no translation. Maybe I can switch to Spanish. Or maybe you can translate.
So, it takes 4 hours to learn English.
Okay, you can read English? I don't know. Sorry. There is no translation.
No translation.
No translation here? Only for Spanish people? Or? Okay, so sorry. I don't know. Someone asked for that. So someone enthusiastic. Then we have the creativity, because we need to... sometimes we don't find what we are looking for in Google or any papers around there, so we need to be creative in order to find the solution we are looking for, or in order to do what we are doing. So someone really with a really creativity. And the last part, and the most important, I think, is the wish to share. Because in order to, for all to learn, we have to share everything. So that's the three of these characteristics. I believe that's our motivation of being here. So let's continue. My motivation, this is some pictures from my country. The motivation of this workshop arrives when, for example, the transportation system in my country, the picture over there, the lady over there is our president. So when they implemented the transportation system using RFID, they are NFC, but RFID tokens in order to travel around the city. So I said, oh, okay, this is new. It was about 4 years ago. Okay, this is new. I want to learn how it works and start doing something. If we hack it, if we can hack it or not, who knows? So that was my first motivation in order to run all of this, because it's a research that I do just for fun, so, and to present and travel around the world. So that was my first motivation. Then we have a lot of different systems using RFID technologies, for example, to enter buildings. For example, this is called Monedero. This is like a wallet, you know, to pay for little stuff in kiosks or maybe in a bookstore, just to do some micropayments. So they are all using this kind of technologies. So why not to just play with it and see how is it working? Yeah, and if we can do something weird with it. So this is all the motivational stuff about it. I don't know if you are, if you know this picture, but the real motivation is to fuck the system. You know, we all want to do the opposite thing that the system is meant to do. So let's start. This is our agenda. We are going to talk about what is RFID, what is not true about RFID. Maybe some systems you think that it's using RFID, but it's not. We are going to see some real-life examples around here. In 2013, I took a lot of pictures around Moscow of systems using this kind of technology. So after the training, you have a lot of different systems to play with. So I believe that you have to and share all the info with me and with the community. Then we are going to review the hardware that we are going to use, because this is not only software. We are not going to just reverse engineer some executable in order to crack it or something. We are going to use a lot of hardware. You know, it's full of hardware. Customs in different countries around the world don't like this kind of hardware in your backpack. They are going to ask you a lot of questions. What is this? What is this? You have to tell them it's just a pen drive, and you are going to be fine. So yeah, they are going to ask you a lot of questions. What is this? What is that? Then we are going to review the technology, high frequency, low frequency. What does it? What is all about of that? Then we are going to see the Live NFC. That's the most well-known library in order to play with NFC enabled devices. Then we are going to see some really, really cool hardware called Prox Mark Iii and Hydrabus. Do some Arduino stuff. Everyone here knows something about Arduino stuff. It's pretty common. It's a really, really good way to start doing some electronics, domotics, and all that stuff. Then we are going to review two different technologies that are already hacked, like iClass and MyFair Classic. We are going to learn about that. There are a lot of different tags and technologies around this. We are going to take two. I believe it's a really, really good example to start. And then I'm going to show you all the resources I used in order to create the training, where to buy everything, because you are going to need some hardware in order to play with it. So I'm going to show you everything. So after the training, the thing is that you are going to be able to at least buy something you can afford and start digging with it. And you can send me emails, everything. I'm 17,000 kilometers far away from Moscow, but I can send emails. Yeah. So let's start with the intro part. It's kind of bored, but it's necessary because we need to all be at the same level. I don't know if someone is a professional in this field. Anyone is working with RFID devices or NFC or is from the transportation system of Moscow or something? No? Okay. So, well, let's start with the basics of RFID stuff. So I told you that we are going to start with the very basics, but what is not true about RFID? What is not an RFID system? What is that? Anyone? It's really easy. Come on, tell me. I know it's 10 a.m. in the morning, but you have sun from 4 a.m., so you have to be awake. Anyone? It's a barcode reader, come on. So this is not RFID, it's just a diode over there sending some signal and it's going to decode the barcode. So there is no radio frequency at all in this kind of systems, okay? This is really dumb, but we have to say it, okay? So let's continue. And this one, yeah, come on. Anyone? Come on, you can talk. A payment card, yeah, with stripes, yeah. It's a magnetic card, you need to swipe it, and the reader should be with contact with the magnetic stripe, so there is some contact between the reader and the transponder itself. So this is not RFID neither, so okay, yeah, we know it, but we have to say it again. What about this one? Yeah, SIM cards. Yeah, they are not RFID for in the very mean, you know. But some of them are connected to an antenna. For EMV, for example, in credit cards with NFC enabled chips. Those chips. There are at least two different systems around this kind of chips. These chips are not contactless chips. You know, you have to, again, the reader should be in contact with the chip itself in order to read it. But, for example, you will find some of these chips with an antenna attached to it. So you are going to be able to read the information inside of the chip using radio frequency. So be careful. So we have hybrid systems in here. So yeah, but the basics one, the SIM cards for the very well-known SIM cards in our cell phones are just contact cards, and they are not doing any NFC or an RFID at all. I don't know if you're familiar with Deal Extreme webpage, AliExpress. Do you use it here? Yeah. So these Chinese people are selling a lot of stuff to play with RFID and NFC systems, and they are selling this kind of fully featured cloner. If you look for in Deal Extreme or in AliExpress, those Chinese websites, RFID or NFC cloner, you will find this kind of systems. And in the main title, it will say, okay, you will clone everything with it. And they are using the clone term for everything. So we are going to try to learn in this workshop what is to clone some token or some card. Yeah, just to not to be that Chinese. So, and you will learn how to read what is this little boy doing. So it is going to clone something. It is working, but it's not going to clone everything. For example, you cannot clone the Metro card with this kind of systems. Okay, so the reason of this workshop is also for you to, okay, I have the opportunity to buy this. Okay, it's going to do this. Yeah, it will work for some part of the system I'm going to hack or not. So you're going to be able to differentiate all these kind of systems around. So it's bullshit, but not that something. So we have this web page. It's from a company on the States, on the United States, called Clone My Key. These people clone keys. For for example, for your entry door, your garage door, using RFID, the readers in order to open garages or your front door, for example. And they have a lot of eligible RFID formats that they can clone. And you have to send your token to them, of course, in an envelope with your address in order to receive the clone copy, okay? So it's I don't know if some NDAs are all over there because you are sending your key with your your own address. So, but what I like to show you here in this slide, it's like all of these formats are eligible to clone in some way, okay? So if you have a system, for example, working with an Indala card or a MyFair Classic 1K, or for example, an EM4100, all of these systems are eligible to be cloned. So someone can sniff the information inside your tag, for example, and pass through the gate, for example. So take a look at this slide later and see if the system you are going to try to hack or to understand is working with these technologies. And if it is, you can clone it in some way, okay? And it's not that good because someone can sniff the information inside a token and then enter the building as you do. So that is not really good. So what is true also about RFID? So the term is really simple. It's radio frequency identification. The term RFID, it's a generic term for every system sending information from a transponder to a transceiver, okay? So every system sending information from a transponder, information, for example, an ID or some kind of, I don't know, data about what is happening in that system to another system, it's an RFID-enabled system. So again, RFID, it's a generic term. We have to differentiate it to NFC. That's what we are going to try to do. So a typical RFID tag, we are going to tell the tag, for example, a tag, a token, or a transponder, okay? The little thing that we have in the pocket always. So it consists of a little microchip attached to an antenna that is going to transmit information to the transceiver or the backend system, okay? So in order to read the information of the transponder or the tag, you will need a transceiver or the reader. We are going to call them readers, even though they can write inside the chip if the chip is enabled to be written, of course. So this is the true of RFID. It's a generic term. Remember that. So what is true about NFC then? Okay, so there is some sort of difference between them. So the very big world is called RFID, and NFC, it's the meaning of near field communication. So it's in the near field. So the transponder and the transceiver should be near between them. Okay, there should be a really teeny difference between the transponder and the receiver or the reader itself. So it's a subset of a radio of RFID. Because we are now, I didn't mention that RFID, you should be in some kind of distance between the transponder and the receiver. I didn't mention that. I didn't say that you have to be in some sort of distance. That's the story here. So the story here is that NFC devices should be in the near field in order to communicate between them. And the other difference, or the subset that I'm trying to say here, is that NFC works at 1356 megs. So remember, RFID, I didn't mention anything about any frequency at all. But NFC is tuned or fixed, the frequency is fixed at that frequency. So, you know, you have the very big world of RFID, and NFC is a really teeny subset of all that world. working, remember, at 1356 megs and in the near field. So the difference between the transponder and the transceiver, or the tag and the reader, should be really close. And NFC, as it's an open platform that some companies are trying to put it in the market, provides 3 different modes of working. So the first one is card emulation. That's the one that, for example, cell phones are using in order to do some payments. You know, Google Wallet or any other system that you have, for example, in your cell phone in order to pay with it. Yeah. So NFC in that mode is doing some kind of emulation of a card with the chip inside your cell phone, for example. Then you have the other one, it's called peer-to-peer. That's really easy. 2 different NFC-enabled devices can communicate to each other. Just like, for example, Bluetooth. 2 different devices can communicate via Bluetooth, right? So that's peer-to-peer mode. And the very easy one, it's called the reader-writer, where you have the tag, you have a reader, you can read and write wherever is inside this little token or tag or transceiver, okay? Just like, for example, in the metro. Yesterday I took the metro, they sell you this kind of tags. So there is a little microchip inside of it. It is NFC, it's an NFC-enabled device. It has the microchip, there is an antenna inside of it, and it's working as a reader-writer mode because you have the little transponder, this is the tag, and you have the reader in the gate you are transpassing when entering the subway. Okay, that's the story behind NFC. So it's a little world inside the big world of RFID. So there you have some, of course, ISO specifications. There are a lot of resources online. It's all free, and you will find different types of tags. You know, type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. They are all described in a very big world. So NFC it's a mix of the NFC IP plus the NFC forum specifications. This is all the ISO specifications that is all around NFC-enabled devices. You can take a look at it later. I'm going to try to show you the practical stuff here because we have only 4 hours. So you can read it all of this later. So real-life examples, we are all surrounded about real-life examples of RFID or NFC. We now know the difference. I'm going to say NFC when it's NFC, for example, here, the passports, the electronic passports with NFC-enabled chips. For example, when traveling in transportation systems, behind some labels, you will find some chip. This is a chip, and this is the antenna. So you will find a lot of different real-life examples. For example, let me show you more. Of course, in the newest credit cards. I don't know if in Russia you have NFC-enabled credit cards. You can pay just by presenting the card in readers. So there is some RFID inside of it, and you have to be near the reader. So it's some sort of a specification near NFC. And then you can enter buildings using RFID-enabled transponders. For example, some clothes are tagged. This is a really, really teeny tag. All of the shape of this, it's the antenna, and there is a little microchip. So you can be tagged, and you can be, I don't know, tracked inside of a shopping, and you just don't know. Maybe they sell, if they sell you this, I don't know, this shirt, for example, and then you come back to the shopping and you receive an SMS, hey, welcome back. What the fuck? That's because you are being tracked, and they have all the information. So maybe take a look at your clothes, and maybe you have some chips on them. So, well, impressive. So there are a lot of different real-life examples. This is an ATM in Frankfurt. For example, I took this picture. In Moscow, this is this is a WC you will find on the streets. There is some sort of RFID. I don't know if any one of you uses this one? No? Well, try to see. In 2013, I told the people, hey, try to do something with this because it's an RFID or NFC, I don't know, because I didn't try it, but it's some sort of radio frequency identification device that lets you inside of these bunker bathrooms because they are kind of bunkers. In case of a bomb, just go inside these bathrooms because they are almost really impressive too. And then I found this kind of little machines with also I don't know if you can present your cell phone or you can, I don't know, any one of you use in the past these kind of systems? No? I found it here in the very Moscow. Sorry? Seriously not?
Seriously, yeah.
Okay. Well, you have, what I'm trying to say is that you have a lot of different real-life examples all around you. I know some Russian now because it's my second time here. It says Bank of Moscow, right? Yeah. Oh. It's kind of a substitution cipher algorithm. You have to substitute some letters and you know Russian now. But this is attached to a series of bicycles. I believe that you have to present your cell phone with an app or maybe a card that the bank gives you, and then you can use the bikes all around the city. So another example of an NFC-enabled device here. So you have number 3. And this is just very, very weird with this really teeny reader here. There was some fish, like a screensaver in this machine. I don't know what the hell is this machine, but I saw this teeny device. If you see it closely, you will see that it says NFC, and this is the one over here. Let me take it. Look, this is one NFC-enabled device. We call it reader because we are going to say these are readers because it's an easier way to tell what is this. But it's an NFC-enabled device because you can do card emulation, you can do peer-to-peer communication, and you can do the reader and writer mode. But they are readers. And if you see, it's the same like this one. So they build this machine with this reader inside of it. So I took this picture. So there are a lot of different real-life examples of RFID and NFC devices around the city. For example, this is in Chile. This is for their transportation system. You can pay and travel around the city. In Delhi, India, I've been there in 2013. And I found that they have a transportation system, and it's like the one you have here in Moscow because you have 2 different types of way to travel. You have the Tronca. It's Tronca card or what? Troika. Well, sorry. You have the Troika card where you can add value to it and keep traveling, and then you have the other ones like tokens. Like I don't know. Yesterday we bought the 2 travels token card. So you have maybe one system that is kind of secure because the card itself it's secure or it's a good one. But then you have these little disposable tickets, which are really, really cheaper than the other one, and you can try to do something with them. Maybe because of the main system, it's kind of secure, but the other one, it's not. So these hybrid systems should be secure in both ways, in the token sale and in the add value mode. So in Moscow, you have that. So you can take a look at what is going on when you are traveling. I don't know, everyone here is from Moscow. Everyone has the Troika card, yeah? So what is going on when you are traveling, when you are adding value? How is it working? What is inside the card? That was my first motivation. In my country, they implemented this in 2011. And I said, hey, you can put some money inside of it. You can travel. What is going on? How is it working? So it has to be your motivation here too. Come on. I want to see some talk about how to deal with the deal, not hack, deal, or just for educational stuff, how to deal with the metro. I don't know if someone already did that. So, well, did I mention Argentina? Yeah, I mentioned this. So there are a lot of different real-life examples all around us. So go and try to understand how is it working, and I will show you that with really cheap devices, you're going to be able to do something. So let's go ahead. Okay? Any questions now? You can stop me at every time. Remember that it's not just a talk, blah, 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 and then stop. So if we can continue, I'm going to show you some of the hardware that you are going to use. Yeah, go.
Technical question. Maybe everybody knows it, but I want to be sure. You told that NFC needs a short range, right?
Yeah.
Could you please explain from the physical point of view, why couldn't we use the more strong reader with higher voltage and so on, higher power to read NFC from long range?
Good question. Yeah, you are going to win one sweet from Argentina, or two maybe. You will need water then. But yeah, good question. In the specification, it's going to say that for an NFC-enabled device, you will need at least 5 to 10 centimeters, the distance between the transponder and the transceiver, okay? But it was demonstrated by a lot of people around there that you can read or write this kind of tokens in a larger distance. You can do it. It's not by specification. We are always trying to put everything until they are...
Because I heard about some bug in, for example, America's passport, where they include the NFC inside.
Yeah.
I don't know, like a rumor, or it was real that somebody read it
from a larger distance.
Like,
yeah. The specification says only 5 to 10 centimeters. You can go and try to put some more powerful reader and try to read it, but I'm going to in the next slides, I'm going to do some kind of intro about the physical point of view of how is it working. But you will see that if you put more power into the air, maybe the chip and the antenna itself will just broke. So you have to be very careful while doing that. But it was demonstrated by a lot of different hackers around the world that you can maybe read something in a larger distance, but you're not going to be able maybe to do some sort of peer-to-peer communication maybe because you are only allowed to send some info, or maybe you are only allowed to write some info, but you are not allowed to read it because maybe the chip on the transponder just, I don't know, is not able to modulate the signal in order for you to detect that and read it. But yeah, if you do some search, you will find that there are some really technical papers about reading this kind of tags in a larger distance. But I don't know if passports are around the NFC world. It's not NFC itself, but they are around this same frequency, 1356 megs, and they can be written at in 5 to 10 centimeters, but maybe they managed to read it in larger distance. I'm not very sure, but maybe. But you can take a look. So, as I said, in an RFID system, you will have the transponder, that is the tag, the transceiver, that is the reader on the other part of the side, and the scanning antenna that is attached to the reader that is going to try to detect this kind of transponders in the near field that the antenna is sending. So this antenna puts in a defined range some sort of radio frequency information, and this radiation, the radio frequency radiation, provides the means of communication from the transponder, and in some cases, also the energy to communicate from the tag to the reader, because some tags are called passive tags with no energy at all. So it's using the energy from the reader or the transceiver in order to power up and send the information. So now maybe you're going to get, if that is possible, because for example, in passports are passive tags. There is no battery at all inside of the chip. Okay, so they need some radiation in order to power up and use that energy in order to send the information to the transceiver. So if there is a lot of radiation in their field, it will maybe burn. So you have to be very careful in these cases. So then we have frequency bands. We are talking about RFID, so there is no frequency, fixed frequency at all. So if you see, we have at least 4 different very, very well-defined frequencies in this world. We have the frequency band 125 to 134 kilohertz. So this is what we call the low frequency band, okay, where you will find access control systems, for example, to track animals, those cows with some earrings or something in their ears. They have some tracking devices in order to see what's the name of the animal, what's the legacy of it, maybe their age or something. And it works really, really well in some in the cases where there is water, there is, for example, metal products around the area that they are using this kind of frequency. Why? Because the wavelength of this low frequency band, it's bigger than the high or the ultra high or the microwave. So this kind of wavelengths, for example, goes through the walls pretty well. You know, if you are outside of a club, I don't know if you are going to clubs. I'm 30, so I'm still going to some clubs. But if you're outside of a club or of a bar, what's the frequency you hear when outside? It's the low frequency, boom, 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 you know? And when you are inside, you hear all the range of frequency. That's why the low frequency goes through the walls very easily. And that's why they use the low frequency band in RFID systems in these kind of cases. For example, where there are animals, when this, for example, for pigs in a lot of, in the field, for example, etc. Okay, get it? I believe it's a good example because you feel it when you're outside of a bar or something, you heard that frequency. So then you have the high frequency one. You see 1356 megs. That's the NFC band. So there you will have smart cards, for example, I don't know, the passports, you know, the chips inside of the passports, you will have the high frequency tags. And the cost of these tags are really low. They are different, of course, different costs between the tags, but it's kind of cheap. It's kind of cheap. And then you will have ultra high frequency and microwave frequency that we are not going to talk about because we are going to move on this world from the low frequency and to the high frequency. And we are going to talk about a lot of high frequency stuff because it's all about NFC around there. Okay? Yeah? Nice. So I work as a penetration tester doing penetration testing stuff in web applications and, for example, I don't know, infrastructures, etc. So I like to penetrate systems. So, and you know, when doing this kind of work, you need to do some kind of fingerprinting after starting, you know? Before starting, because you need to learn about the system you are going to try to hack. So this slide is trying to show you the different, very well-known readers that are around there. For example, the one over there with the red or green light, like a bar, on the top of it, they are all I-class readers from HID company. I don't know if you saw the readers that are around this building. They are really like this one, or maybe this one if there is some pin. And if you see, if you see very closely, you will see that it says HID, and it says I-class, multi-class, or something. So what I'm trying to tell you is that, okay, just by taking a look at the reader that the company or the building is using, you will be able to know that if you are able to sniff some of the, I don't know, the security tokens and try to enter all around the building. So just by only taking a look at the reader. So, for example, a lot of friends tell me, hey, Noel, are you able to clone the, I don't know, the transponder that I'm using for my job? I don't know. Send me a picture of the reader, and maybe I can tell you. It's like doing fingerprinting. You are not always 100% sure. But if, for example, this one, it's a very well-known HID proximity of 26 bits. So they are very well known, used. So, and yeah, this one, it's pretty big. It's like a very big square. They use it in parking areas where you can present a tag and go through the gate with your car. So all of these are very well known readers, and you will find them all over there, and you will be able to clone or emulate or play with them. So be careful when you are going through all the buildings, and take a look at the readers that they are using, and maybe you are able to see if you can hack it or not. So then you will have different readers. For example, I don't know if you know this one. This is very well known, used for micropayments in kiosks or everywhere. It's like the one I show you, the white one here, like the one here, but in another shape. So they put it in the front desk, and you can pay presenting your card all over there. And it's a USB reader. It's a USB NFC enabled device. You can do peer-to-peer, card emulation, etc. But they are all used like readers. And the one over here, it's an antenna. It's just an antenna, but it's for ultra high frequency systems. So if you see some white square, devices somewhere on the top of the ceiling or something, you will know that they are using some kind of ultra high frequency devices. Yep. So just by taking a look at the readers or the antennas that they are using, you will be able to see if you can, if you are able to play with it, or you have the ability to deal with them. Then we have a lot of different tags or transponders. I'm going to start saying tag, transponder, cards, all are the same. So you will have a lot of different shapes. The shape itself, it's not important, because the important part of the cards or transponders are the chip inside of them and the antenna attached to it. Okay? So you will have a lot of different shapes and formats. For example, the one I show you here for the metro, it's a disposable one. It's made of paper or something with a little chip and an antenna. So you can just travel and through it. So I know that there is some, and of course, if you know how to deal with it or with them, you can pick them from the trash, and you can maybe reuse them just for your own personal systems, because you have a chip, you have a memory inside of it, and it's working. It's not broken when you use it. So I know that in 2013, I remembered that I read some paper about some guys taking these cards from the trash and the waste, and they are using them just for another application. Well, it's free because it's there, and you can take it, and you can use it. So there are a lot of different formats. For example, the one that you can just insert inside your own body or inside, for example, animals. That's rice, so the size it's pretty small. You will find a lot of different type of cards in that shape. Most of them are used only for animals, but if you are brave enough, you can just insert it. I have 2 inside of my. No, I'm kidding. I like to go to our transportation system and pay with my hand, and the driver, oh, what the fuck? Yeah, I have the power. So now, but if you look in YouTube, you will find a video, an HD video of the guy inserting the chip itself. It's a lot of fuck. But yeah, you will find that some guys implant these kind of chips inside of their hands. And for example, there is a kind of new technology called USIM that, remember the SIM that we said that it's not RFID or it's not NFC at all, but they are starting to sell some SIM cards with an antenna attached to it. And these kind of SIM cards are used as a card emulation little system. So if you have a cell phone that is not NFC enabled, you can, for example, I don't know, some old cell phones they don't have NFC at all. So you can insert these kind of chips, and the chip itself has the antenna and has the ability to communicate with NFC-enabled readers. So it's going to be a lot of different hacks around it. I know that it's from, you see, this picture is from 2011, so we have 3 or 4 years of story about this. And all of this, I'm telling you, remember that it's almost 4 or 5 years old. The hacks I'm going to show you in an hour, for example, are from 2008. So I'm showing you a lot of old stuff, but it's not very well known. And countries and cities are implementing these kind of systems using old devices. It's like, I don't know, installing Windows Millennium, for example, or Windows XP. At the airport, you'll see a lot of Windows XP computers at the airport. So this kind of technology is new for a lot of people, but it's not that new for other ones. So take a look at these kind of technologies. They are going to be used, or they are being used for payments, or for example to, I don't know, for mobile advertisements, to store, for example, discount coupons, etc. So these kind of chips, remember the difference between the other ones, but this one, it's the same as the other one, but with the ability to communicate using the antenna that is inside of the chip itself. So that is really good. So if you look also in YouTube, you will find some videos of a lot of guys inserting these kind of chips in their cell phones and using the NFC inside of this chip. Okay, they are called smart cards because there is some kind of Java virtual machine running inside of it. You can install different kind of applications inside of this chip. These chips are not just as simple as what I'm going to show you later. These kind of chips are, for example, inside the passports, where they are kind of pretty secure. Of course, some guys managed to hack the chip inside of the passport, read it, and clone it. I don't know if you saw the video of the guys that managed to clone the passports, and they traveled by. They put the passport in an automatic machine, and the machine shows that it's Elvis Presley and the photo of Elvis. They are traveling like Elvis Presley. That was pretty fun. So they managed to sniff the information inside of the chip and modify it and put it inside of another chip, and they put it on the automatic machine, and the automatic machine says, name, Elvis, surname, Presley, and the photo of Elvis Presley. So they can travel like Elvis Presley. Now, in some airports, you are allowed to pass through the security, by just presenting the passport in an automatic machine. So that's really, really heavy, So take a look at USIM. I don't know if in Moscow it's all around there. I don't know. Anyone is using USIMs or something? No? I don't know if you know the company. SK Telecom. It's from here? No. Okay. So, there are a lot of implementations of the NFC world in different parts. So, as I showed you, there are a lot of different tags, and we are going to try to differentiate. I'm going to try to see what's the difference between these kind of tags. So, let's see what we can learn about the tags. We learned about something about the readers. We can see what's the system behind a building, for example, just by taking a look at the reader. Now, if you are able to see the token, we're going to see if we can say something about it. So, the RFID tag, when it's active, remember, when it's active, it contains batteries inside of it. So because it's called active because it has its own power and the ability to communicate and start the communication themselves. Okay? So this kind of chips or active tags, they generally operate in ultra high frequency, for example. Okay? Tiki. There are a lot of advantages and disadvantages of this kind of systems. For example, you can include sensors because there is electricity in order to power up the system. And for example, you can have some active tags around the field, and you can sensor the temperature, for example, on the ground. And then you can just go with the reader and take the information of them. And you can have sensors of it because inside of them, because you have the power enough in order to get that info. And disadvantages, for example, they are kind of expensive, maybe $20 or more. And they have their own battery, so they have a lifetime. They have limited lifetime, maybe 10 years, or maybe 5, or maybe 1 week. So, and you have to be very careful if the token itself has enough power to behave as if it's working fine. Because if the battery just goes down, maybe the information that it's sending to the transceiver, it's not as good as when it's okay. Okay? So you have to do some maintenance in this kind of chips. They are not that used in the real life, but you will find a lot of different active tags all around there. For example, the one that is being used in some conferences is called the Open Beacon project. This is the reader or the transceiver. Okay, it's operating at the microwave frequency, 2.4 gigahertz, and the little thing over here is the active tag. I believe I have one here. Let me take a look. So I can give you one. Maybe. No. Well, maybe I can show you it later. But you will see that there is a battery here. You will find out that there is a battery powering up this system. And all around there is a little antenna. So there is a PIC microcontroller inside of it. And it's sending information to the transceiver or to another transponder too. So, for example, in a lot of conferences like the CCC conference in Germany, they use this kind of active tags as badges, for example. And with this kind of transceivers all around the conference area, they can track where are the people. And for example, they are able to know, I don't know, how many people are inside of different places. So that is really good. So and it's open hardware stuff. So if you look for the Open Beacon project, you will see that you will have all the specifications in order to build your own system. Yeah, and that is really good. So that's the active tags. And what about the passive tags? They are really around there. For example, inside of the tag of the Metro card here, they are all passive tags because they do not contain any battery at all, and the power is supplied by the electromagnetic field provided by the readers. Okay, so how does it work? So when the reader sends the magnetic field, or puts the magnetic field into the air, it will work like a transformer. I don't know if you're familiar with electronics and electricity stuff, but the magnetic, there will be a lot of radiation into the air, in some part of the air, and the passive tag will take that power in order to power up, because it does not contain any battery at all. So the power that the transceiver is sending will be used to power up, and then in order to the tag to communicate to the transceiver, it will do what we call the load modulation. What is that? The card or the chip will try to vary. It will vary its resistance and consuming more and less power, in order to modulate the signal that the transceiver is sending. So the modulation there, what I'm doing here, that's the modulation there. It's sorry, here. The load modulation will send the zeros and ones to the transceiver. Okay, you understand that? So the power, the radio frequency, will be used as the means to power up the chip, and the chip will try to consume that power in order to load modulate the frequency and transmit the information to Earth. Magic, yeah. So it will do a variation of energy, because it cannot send any information at all with its own power. It will try to consume more or less power, and that more or less will be zeros and ones. Nice? Awesome. That's for a passive tag. And for example, passive tags, that's the question he asked minutes ago. They are using the power that the transceiver is putting into the air, so it should be enough power in order to power up, and enough power in order to modulate that signal. So NFC specifications tell you that you have to be 5 or to 10 centimeters, but you can just use more power, but taking into account that all that power is going to be taken by the antenna of the transponder there. So maybe, here you will find out that it's going to be electricity. It's going to be electricity all around there. So maybe you can just burn the chip because of that power. Yeah. And there are some projects of like weapons sending enough power to break the antenna of their chips. So it's like burning machines. You can maybe build that machine and put it inside, for example, the metro, and you will burn all the Troika cards of all the people near that field. And you can do it. You will need a lot of power, maybe, 2 watts or something. You can burn, for example, some eggs with that, but yeah, you can do it. And so you have no electricity, you have no power. These passive tags have no power for themselves, so you cannot include, for example, sensors or active sensors inside of them. That's a disadvantage, for example. But one advantage is that this kind of tags, without any battery at all, can be used for at least, hundreds of years. Maybe the specifications will tell you, 20 years. That's enough for a lot of different systems. But 20 or 100, it's the same for example, a transportation system. So as there is no battery at all, they can be read or written a lot of different times. So they are, of course, less expensive, and the tag itself, it's really much smaller. As there is no battery, you will just need a little chip and an antenna, and that's it. So they are pretty smaller than the active ones. So we have the RFID world, then we have the NFC world, tuned at 1356 megs, okay? And then you will have tags that are working as active tags and as passive tags. And then you will have low frequency and high frequency. So as I told you minutes ago, low frequency is working at 125 kilohertz or at 134 kilohertz. These systems are really, they have the strongest ability to read or be read, in metal environments or with high water environments. Because what I told you, you have long wavelengths, so that kind of wavelengths are really, they can go through walls or metal stuff easily. And these kind of chips are very well used in access control, animal tracking, etc. So these are examples of real-life tags. For example, you will have HID. It's a manufacturer of these kind of systems. Remember the HID readers? Well, these cards are working with them. The Prox Card II, Indala Flex card. The reason, or the real meaning of this slide is is to show you again that if you see that some system is using these type of cards, are kind of eligible to be cloned or to be emulated, and we are going to do some kind of practical stuff around this. So you will have another company like NXP with the Jtag 2 tag working again at 125 kilohertz. So these are all examples of low frequency cards, passive. Okay, remember, all of them are going to be passive. If there is no battery inside of them, there will be passive. And then the high frequency tags, most of them are working around this kind of ISO specification, the 14 SSL or 14443, it's a joke. And you will see that there is a lot of standards around the high frequency tags. You will have different types, A, B. Remember type 1, 2, 4, type 1, 2, 3, and 4 from the NFC specifications. Well, you will have A and B type of cards with different communication protocols. Then you will have another type of cards not using or not around the 14443 ISO, but in the 15693, and they are called the Vicinity Cards. It's not. See the difference. The one over there are proximity cards with about 6 centimeters range. And the one over here, you will have a little bigger range, like 50 centimeters to 1 meter. So if these tags, and they are passive too. So if you, for example, if you need some system with a bigger range, for example, 1 meter, 50 centimeters, you are going to use this kind of chips using 15693. And they are called the Vicinity Cards. So proximity and Vicinity Cards. And you will see that you have to communicate to them in a different way. So this is the fingerprinting stuff I mentioned minutes ago. So you have to learn the system you are trying to deal with, so in order to try to communicate with the tags. So, well, more theory all about the specifications. You can read it later, and all of this will specify the stack, of course, from the physical characteristics to the transmission protocol, like a TCP/IP stack. So you will have all the characteristics all around there in the specifications. So remember that you will also have type A and type B in the ISO 14443. It's a different meaning of communication in the transmission part of the protocol. So that is what is going on here. And then you will have some examples of passive tags working at the high frequency range, like the I-class card from HID, the one that, for example, if you see the readers, I told you that you will see HID multi-class, and it's an I-class type of card that they are using. So we now know that these kind of readers are reading high-frequency tags, and they are passive. So we are doing some kind of fingerprinting on their system, just by taking a look at the reader, and that's really cool. So then you will have the MyFair Classic 1K from NXP. This is the one we are going to, with both type of cards, we are going to learn what is inside of this type of cards and what is going on and what are the hacks to play with them. Then you will have some cards called Felica from Sony. They are in Japan. And then you will have from NXP the MyFair Plus, and there are a lot of different type of cards. The one over here, I'm going to show you in a minute. How can you tell? How can we know that what is inside of this card just by sending some kind of commands to it? And you will see that it's a chip from NXP, and it's called Ultralight. So there are a lot of different type of cards, a lot of different shapes and everything. So we have to know how to deal with them. Okay, yeah, we are like that. So let's try to pop all those pics and let's try to start playing, because all of this theory, it's kind of hard. But we need to know the difference between RFID, NFC, passive, active, and high frequency and low frequency, okay? Yeah? Most of the systems are using high frequency or low frequency in their passive way, with no energy from the tag. Yeah? Using the electromagnetic field from the reader. So software now. So we talk about all, yeah?
Just one question about backscatter.
Sorry?
What is a backscatter for coupling?
I don't get it. Schedule?
Backscatter for passive RFID.
I don't get it.
When you said there is a passive RFID for transmitter and receiver,
Yeah.
and we use some energy from the receiver.
Yeah.
So there is a specific term like a backscatter.
I don't know it.
Really? Okay.
Best scatter.
No, backscatter.
Back, I don't know it, sorry. Yeah, and what is it? What is it related to it?
It's a process how the energy is transmitted back.
Ah, okay. No, I don't know it. Maybe I don't get it, but I don't know. Sorry. Okay, so let's move into the software world, how to deal with it. So the one we are going to use, it's called LibNFC. It's from the web page. It's a first Libre or open low-level library in order to play with NFC enabled tokens, and you will be able to download it from nfctools.org, and it's free. You can see the implementation, everything. So it's open source, and you can read it and use it. And it's a library. You can use it on your own projects. Okay? You will find out that there are some tools inside the project using the library, just for you to know how to use all this library. But it will work in all major operating systems, Linux, OS X, and the other ones. And compilation should work just out of the box, and it's true. And you will be able to use it with different devices. And you know, when software is playing with hardware, you have to know that all of the hardware is not compatible with that software. So you need to know which chip inside of the reader or the dongles you are using, if they are compatible or not. So in the web page, you will find out a big chart of enabled of devices that are compatible with this kind of libraries. So you will be able to play with Felica cards. You will be able to play around the 14443 A and B specification. Remember that we talked about this specification, Felica, dual tags, and we can do some peer-to-peer communication. So if you have two different readers or NFC-enabled devices, and you have, for example, two computers using LibNFC, sorry, you will be able to send information between these two computers, like in Bluetooth or any other communication protocol. So, and emulation is just there because the emulation part of this world is not as easy as we all want. So the emulation part is kind of restricted, but it supports some kind of emulation. So the two very well known readers that are being used with this kind of libraries are the SSL 3711 and the ACR 122. The ACR is the one I showed you minutes ago, you know, the white one, and the SSL 3711, I believe it's it's a really good piece of hardware. It's about this is a clone from China, of course. You can buy this one for just about $30. So $30 for a little piece of hardware that will give you the opportunity to deal with all of these type of cards. It's very good enough. So you will be able to use these kind of dongles with libNFC just out of the box. And remember, I put some little tips or hints in the presentation. The presentation will be uploaded, so you will. You know, after the training, you can just ask me for the slides, and I can give it to you. But when compiling, I don't know if you are familiar with /configure stuff, but when compiling, you will see that if you use this kind of flags, you will be able to put all of these readers working just in a minute. So these kind of readers are being used with this libNFC library. So let's try to do some. Oops. Let me show you. Sorry. Again, microphone. Yeah. Don't be rude. Tiki tiki. Ah, yeah. Sure. Thank you. So. Ahí va. Okay. I will disconnect the power. Okay, I plugged the little dongle to the computer. There, I have microphone, yeah. So, can you see the console there? There. Enough? Enough size for you, yeah? For the ones in the back, it's okay? Yeah, awesome. So, I compiled the libNFC, as I told you. It's really easy. /configure make, and you have the libNFC there. And if you install it, you will see that if you just type NFC, and then I like to do some. Let's do it again, so we are not tiki. There, you will see that there are a lot of tools that are using the libNFC as an example for you. So the one I like to show, it's, for example, the libNFC list. The libNFC list tool is using libNFC in order to list the devices that are connected to your computer. So you can now, if you execute this, you will see that if your dongle or your reader is recognized by the computer. So we are okay, because we have the SSM micro, SSL 3711, and it's open. So the device is recognized. So we are we are good as far as now. So now, for example, I will just put the card on the top of the reader. Yeah, it's not as easy to show to everyone, but I'm going to put the card on the top of the reader, nothing else. So, and I will run NFC anti-call command. The anti-call command, it's going to run the anti-collision phase. In a minute, I will tell you what is the anti-collision phase, but the anti-collision phase, you can imagine what's the meaning of that, but it will try to send some frames into the air in order to see if it receives some information back. So it will run the anti-collision phase of this kind of chips. And in the specification of the 14443 ISO, you will notice that there is an anti-collision phase that you have to do in order to communicate to the tags. So I will run it just to see if we can. Okay, we have some answer. So from nothing, because I bought it in 2013, but you can just go buy one of these cards, put it in this reader, and only play one command. And from nothing at all, because I just don't know nothing about it. If it's passive, active, well, we know that it's not active because there is no battery inside of it. Maybe a very little battery inside of it, but we can tell that there is no battery at all. But from nothing, we know that it's a passive tag, yeah? It's an NFC tag, and we have some information here. We have the frames that are being sent into the air, and the response from the tag, then another frame. These bytes have some meaning, of course, to the chip. We are now talking about in the transmission protocol now. We are not talking about the physical point of view of all of this. Now we are sending bytes in some way and receiving some bytes in some way. You know, because of the slides that I show you, that in the physical point of view, it's doing the load modulation and all that stuff. So you will notice that some bytes are going between the tag and the reader, and it says that it found a tag with a UID and 3451 blah blah blah. That's a UID, the unique identification number of this card, an I2KA and an SAK. These are identification values from an NXP type of card. NXP is one of the companies. Remember HID and NXP? Well, so these bytes 0044 and 00 are identification values in order to know what's the chip inside of this card. So if you take a look at the application note, it's 108.33. It's from NXP. It's published. It's open to the public, and you will see that if you read it carefully, you will find out that a value of 0044 ATQA, it's answer to request. That's the meaning of ATQA. The answer to request 0044 means that we are dealing with a MIFARE Ultralight C type of card. And an ATQA 00 gives you more information about the chip. So inside of this application note, if you want to write it, it's AN, application note 108.33. It's the name of its MIFARE type identification procedure. So we are using that application note in order to identify the tag we are dealing with. So the Metro is using an NXP card or a chip from NXP, that company, and it's a MIFARE Ultralight C. So you only need to go to the datasheet of the MIFARE Ultralight C and see what is going on inside of it. So from nothing to know that they are using a MIFARE Ultralight C type of card with only $30. So it's something good. And if you read the datasheet, you will learn how to communicate with this type of cards, if there is security inside of it, if there are some ways to clone it. Okay, maybe you can create, for example, this is let me show you. I have a lot of different cards here. For example, the one over here. I will give you it. Maybe you can pass it. For example, you can buy some blank cards. Yeah, they are blank cards, and maybe you can create your own clone. So you can buy one and get another one. I don't know. Maybe you can try it. So if these kind of tags are less expensive than the one you are paying for, maybe you can try to do some hack with it. Of course, do it only once, you know, and give the money back to the system if you do it. So from nothing to know how to deal with this type of cards. Again, if you, for example, I have one Troika card, I believe, Tiki. Oyster. Let me see. Here, the Troika. So I will do the same thing with the Troika on the top of it. Okay? So you all have this type of cards. Let's run the anti-call. Again, we have, see the difference. This UID, it's a double of this one. And we have an ATKA of 0002 and SAK 18. So it's, okay, it's a passive tag again. It's an NFC enabled card because we are playing with libNFC with an NFC enabled device. So it's an NFC tag. And if you look at the MIFRE identification application note, you will find out that this type of card it's, and I will give you the opportunity to do it your own. So then you will be able to see if you can read it or write it or something. So this is the way you can play with it. For example, I have, let me show you the one from my country. This one is like the Troika card, but it's called Sube. It's from my country, so I will remove this one, and I will put on the top of the reader the Sube card, and run the anti-call. Okay, again, another UID with an ATQA4 and an SAK08. So it's another type of chip. So 3 type of chips in 3 different type of cards. Okay, so that's the story behind of it. You are going to you need to understand the chip inside of the card in order to try to play with it. And for example, I will put another one. For example, this one, which is a little big. It's a little bit bigger than the other ones. And I will put it again. I found this one on the street, for example, and I have this dongle, and I will try to see if I have some response from it. So I will put it on the top of it and run anti-call, and it says no tag available. So what the hell is going on here? So we have a lot of different situations. Maybe the tag is a high frequency one, but it's not. But it's not doing the 14443 ISO. It's not responding as an NFC card. Or maybe it's a low frequency card. Remember that this dongle has an antenna tuned at what frequency? 1356 megs, because it's NFC. So if this one is a low frequency card tuned at 125 kilohertz, it will not be recognized. So you can differentiate. You can do some fingerprinting on the systems just by buying one of these type of readers and connect it to the computer, and in just 2 minutes you will be able to play with all of these cards. Okay? So download it, try to buy this kind of devices. At the end, I'm going to show you some really good resources or really good resellers in order to buy all of this stuff, so don't worry. It's one slide with all of the information. If you want to buy it, good places to go and buy it. So this is it. Okay, as far as now, any questions? No? Okay. So let's move. We are okay with the time? It's yeah, we're okay. So oh, yeah. I don't like microphones, you know. Yeah, I see. He's going to punch me. So we review the libNFC. It's free, and you can just compile it in your own system I recommend you to use Linux or OS X because it's easier to get it running. In Windows, you will need some DLLs or something. But if you're familiar with if you use Windows and you're familiar with Cygwin, CYGWin, you're going to be able to compile it anyway. So it's really easy to do it. In that time, 4 years ago, it was not that easy. There was a lot of problems when compiled it, but right now, and the community dealing with it, it's really active. So it's not a project from, I don't know, 8 years ago and it's frozen there. So it's really active, and you will find out that there are a lot of commits and everything. So, and if you go to the web page, there is a forum over there. So we are going to help you if you are in trouble or something. I'm in the forum, so, and there are a lot of really cool guys with that they are writing this code. So. It's really open. So now we are going to see what's the Prox Mark, what the Prox Mark is. Sorry. The Prox Mark Iii. It's another piece of hardware. It's the lady I have over there. Sorry. It's a device. It's a piece of hardware. Let me show you. I have it inside of the anti-radiation bag here. It's this little thing over here, and it was developed at least maybe 5 years or maybe more, 6 years ago by Jonathan Westhuse. I don't know if it's corrected pronunciation, but this guy wanted to take a look at the communication of a MIFARE Classic type of card. You know, remember that we did some fingerprinting and we find out that there are at least three different type of cards. When one of them are called MIFARE Classic, and he wanted to take a look at the communication, at the low-level communication between these cards and the readers. What is going on when I go with my card and pay with it, or I use it just for something? So he wanted to take a look at that, and there wasn't any piece of hardware to do that. So he developed his own piece of hardware in order to do that. A genius. So, for example, right now, if we want to do some kind of experiments with Wi-Fi, we can buy some alpha, you know, those alpha devices, put it in sniffer mode, and then we can sniff the information over the air in Wi-Fi. In Bluetooth, we can use Ubertooth. That's another tool. Well, if you want to take a look at all of these NFC devices and RFID tokens, you will use the Prox Mark. And he made the implementation of the ISO 14443 type A because he developed the hardware and the software inside of the hardware in order to sniff what is going on between the card and the reader. And he found a lot of different problems in the communication and in the protocols, and then, we are going to see all the hacks. But he found a lot of problems on that, and he published a really, really cool article, a white paper called A Practical Attack on the MIFARE Classic. So, a genius. So this one, this paper is your starting point if you want to take a look at the very first attacks on this kind of technologies. Okay, this one is it's a 5. It's not really long. You can read it in an hour maybe, and it's not that long. So a practical attack on the MIFARE Classic. So this is the Prox Mark. So that's a big picture of the Prox Mark. You will see that there is no antenna on it. We need an antenna, of course. We need to communicate over the air using radio frequency. Okay? So the antenna will be attached to this connector, because when he created the device, he thought that it will be better to create a device without an antenna, and if you want to deal with high frequency stuff, you can attach a high frequency antenna. And if you want to deal with low frequency devices, you can attach a low frequency antenna. Okay? So that's good. And the other one, it's the USB connector. Then you will find a jacket over here. That's the Jtag port. I don't know if you're familiar with Jtag's ports, but you can program directly the chip through it. And there is a microcontroller, an Atmel microcontroller over there. And the biggest chip over there, it's a Spartan from Xilinx. It's an FPGA, field program gate array. That's that chip is being used in order to decode the signals from the antenna and to send the information over the air. And it's really fast. I don't know if you're familiar with FPGAs, but these chips, you can program these chips in some sort of language to do some sort of task, and they are pretty fast. For example, they are being used, for example, to crack hashes or to calculate hashes for Bitcoin mining, etc. And they are pretty fast in their tasks, and they are expensive too. So, yeah, I know that you are going to buy it. The original one, it's open source and open hardware. So if you have all the parts and you can create your own PCB, I don't recommend you because it's kind of small. But if you have all the stuff to do it, you can do it. All the specifications are online, are free to use. But there is a company, Risks, which is selling the Prox Mark Iii kit. It's about $439. It's a little bit expensive than the one over there, but you will be a proud owner of the Prox Mark with a nice case and the two different antennas, the low frequency one and the high frequency one, and some tags just for you to start playing. So it's kind of expensive because of this chip. The chip over here is about maybe $150, only the chip. So that's why the board itself is that expensive. But if you are going to deal with all of this, maybe it's not that expensive. Tiki. And I can show you here, this is the low frequency antenna. It's the one I have here. Here. It's like a disk, If you attached this antenna to the Prox Mark board, you will be able to read the low frequency, to read, write, and do whatever you want with RFID low frequency type of cards. And the other one, it's the one over here. It's a little bit smaller than the other one, and this is. You will attach the high frequency antenna in order to deal with the high frequency type of cards. Okay, the ones I showed you minutes ago are high frequency ones. So if we want to deal with them with the Prox Mark, we need to attach this antenna to it. Okay? Awesome. Any questions now? There is a really big open forum of the Prox Mark. You will find out that you are always able to do your own antennas, for example, if you are brave enough. You can build your own high-frequency antenna. The one over there, it's a low-frequency one, and the one over here is a high-frequency one. So there are some little tutorials in order to build your own antenna if you don't want to buy them. And you will see that if you are good enough building these kind of systems, you are going to build your own antennas. So you have to follow, of course, the specifications that they are all in the forum. And there is another little hint over here called do not forget to tune your antenna. It's hardware tune. This one I will show you in a minute, some commands inside of the Prox Mark. And there is one called hardware tune that it will try to see if the antenna attached to the Prox Mark is good enough in order to work in that frequency. So if you are building your own antenna, don't forget to tune it. If you connect another the antenna that is being sold by companies, you can try tune in order to see if it's working fine. So let's move on. Remember that the very first meaning of the Prox Mark was to understand the communication between a MyFair Classic type of card and a reader. Yeah, but it's a then the community starting building a lot of different specifications inside of it. So because it's not fixed just for that. And for example, for high frequency formats of cards, they implemented the 14443A, that was the first one, the 14443B implementation, the 15693. Remember the Vicinity cards? So with the Prox Mark, you are able to play with the Vicinity cards too. That's good. In a shorter range, because you know you are connecting it to the power source of the computer, 5 volts of the USB. So you will play with, and the antenna is not capable to deal with vicinity cards in larger distances, but you can take a look at vicinity cards in shorter distances, and that is fine. So you can play with them. Then, for example, I-class was all the I-class stack was implemented inside of a Prox Mark. So you know all the MyFair Classic and MyFair Ultralight and a lot of different commands for MyFair type of cards were implemented, etc. So now the Prox Mark is a really good piece of hardware in order to deal with a lot of different technologies all around NFC. And low frequency is enabled too, because if you change the antenna, you can connect the low frequency antenna and you will be able to do a lot of stuff all around the low frequency world. So for example, the card, remember the card I put on the top of the reader? Well, the NFC enabled device, and it was not recognized. Remember this one? Well, this one is a EM4X doing around low frequency frequency. So that's why that reader didn't recognize this one. But you will be able to play with this type of cards, for example, with the Prox Mark. Yeah? So you will be able to do more fingerprinting stuff and read it and take a look at what is going on inside of these cards. A lot of HID, see the LF HID command from HID company, a lot of commands all around this type of cards, Indala type of cards, etc. And there is a really nice command in order to see the signal that was sent by the card and the reader. You will find out that there is a lot of stuff to play with. And for example, that's the result of executing HF. HF is high frequency, and MF is for MyFair. You will be able to do a lot of different stuff all around MyFair type of cards. So you can customize the Prox Mark, you can write your own code because it's open source, so you can do whatever you want with it. So the repository was moved to GitHub. This is the repository where it's, if the LibNFC is an active project, well, this one is a really big active project. You will see that there are a lot of commits, and of course, you will find out also that maybe you are doing something, and if you change the firmware, maybe it's not working now because someone touched the code. But well, you can just put a ticket and say what is going on. It's a really open community. So be very careful while playing with it. And it's open source, so you can modify it wherever you want. If you are, you can just ask for permissions. If you want to be a developer and you want to implement something, you can ask for permissions and they are going to give it to you, and you can commit it wherever you want. So as you are going to flash the microcontroller inside of it, you have to be very careful always when flashing hardware. You have to be very careful not to cut the process in the middle because you are going to kill it. So just in case, this is if something went wrong, and just in case slide, be ready to, if you're going to buy the Prox Mark, be ready to buy also J-Link, for example, or some device, some USB device, for example, with Jtag compatibility. So with this type of hardware, you are going to be able to, if the Prox Mark, for example, bricked, you will be able to compile the latest bootloader, put the binary inside of it, and paste it in using the Jtag connector here. Okay, so because when you connect it with the computer, the first code that is executing is the bootloader. So if you are flashing it and the bootloader just, I don't know, pissed off or something, or the power goes down or something, you will see that if you connect the Prox Mark to the computer, it's not going to be recognized because there is nothing or there's some code missing. So with J-Link, for example, you will be able to connect the J-Link to the computer, connect the other part of the J-Link to the Jtag, and paste the bootloader, and it will be back. So don't worry if you bricked it. It will happen to you a lot of times. So be ready to buy one of these, because it's $400, and that you are not going to use it just to put some papers on the bottom of it. So and there is a really cool post over here. That's the link where if you are going to try to do the Jtag recovery procedure, some guy wrote a full article in the forum in order to do this. So it's really easy to follow, and you will see that you can do it. When I bought the Prox Mark, I also bought this one, and I was just I didn't use it maybe for a year, but sometimes shit happens, and I followed that post, and it's working again, so it's okay. So you will see that there is a forum, as I told you, with a lot of files of it inside of it. It's not only about the Prox Mark, because with the Prox Mark you're going to be able to play with a lot of different tags and formats and low frequency and high frequency type of cards. There are a lot of different documentation on the forum, so it's a really, really cool starting point for beginners. You will find my posts from, I don't know, 4 years ago, saying, hey, my Prox Mark bricked. Another one's telling, hey, did you buy the Jtag? Yeah, I have the Jtag. Oh, follow this post. And you will see that there is a lot of going back between all the people. And we are all there to help. So and it's free, of course. No, you have to pay me $10 now. Man, kidding. So it's free, and you can use it. So let's try to do something with this. Let's do some showtime. What we are going to try to do with this device is to understand what is the emulation and the cloning procedures with some sort of tags. So let's go and do this. What I brought as a lab is I will use the microphone, don't worry. I have there in the microphone in the table. I have one of these. Maybe you can. I will give it to you just to. I have one of the one over there. So that's a really cheap RFID access door control system. It says access control standalone single door system, where you can buy it everywhere. For example, in Argentina, you can find them. So what we are going to try to do is to understand what is going on with this type of systems. What are the cards doing with this type of readers, and we're going to try to understand what is emulation and what is cloning with this type of systems. So let me show you. When you buy this type of access control systems, maybe you are going to also get some of these type of cards. So remember that, okay, you have the SSL 3711 connected to the computer, and you put this type of card on the top of it, and you get no answer. Okay, so you might notice that maybe it's a low frequency type of card, and you will be right. So let's connect the Prox Mark. Okay, I will try to do some mess here. Nice. So I am going to connect Let's see if it works. Okay, I'm connecting the Prox Mark, and I am going to connect the antenna, and which one? Are you alive? Ping, pong. Which one? This one or the other one? Or this one? This one? That's no, yeah, this one. Because it's a low frequency type of card. So we are going to connect this one. So, and I will show you. Okay, antenna connected. I put it there. I will put the card over there. And let's see. I will show you another way in order to see if we are dealing with a low frequency type of card or a high frequency type of card. And how can you do that? Okay, without putting anything on the top of the antenna, let's go inside of the client part of the Prox Mark. So remember that when you have, for example, this type of systems, you will have the firmware running inside of the Prox Mark device, and you will have the client part of the card that is sending the commands to the device itself. Okay, so Prox Mark Iii, that's the client, and I will specify if it's recognized. It will be recognized as a TTI USB. Okay, it's a serial device. It will be recognized as a serial device to your computer. For example, in my OS X, it's dev TTI USB modem FD 111. So Prox Mark III and the serial device. So and you will have some prompt over there. You can run help, of course, read the fucking manual, RTFM, and you will see that you will have some commands over there, and you can just run hardware and see the options inside the hardware command. And the one, remember the tune, measure antenna tuning. Let's run it. Hardware tune. On the Prox Mark, you will have three different LEDs in Spanish, LEDs that will give you some advice of what is going on. What is going on inside of the Prox Mark, and there you have the answer. For example, your HF antenna is unusable. Of course, it's not connected, so it's okay that I connected the low frequency one, and you will see that these voltages are okay. So we are okay to go as for now. Let's run it again just to see if there is some difference. You will notice some very little differences between the readings. Remember that we are dealing with radio frequency stuff, and it's not that fixed. And remember, if you are using, for example, MacBooks, or for example, I have one iMac, you know that it's full of, it's all metal, you know? So try to put everything not near all the computer if it's metal, because it will drain all the radio frequency. So just be careful when doing this. So, well, you see there is no difference. So we are really, really well tuned. So let's try to put the one. Remember the one from the metro? I will put it on the top of the low frequency antenna. And what do you think is going to happen? About all around this kind of voltages, the measurement, the measuring that it's doing. Do you think it's going to change, or it's not going to change? Nothing. Nothing should happen, or maybe just some power will be drained, of course, but it should be a little bit of the power, because the card, we all know that it's tuned at 1356 megs, and the antenna here, it's sending radio frequency stuff in the 134 or 125 kilohertz. So let's see if we can do some fingerprinting if we are dealing with low frequency or high frequency tags by just doing the tune command. PPP. Sometimes you have to disconnect and connect it back again, but we are okay. See, there is some sort of difference, but it's not big. What is big? Okay, let's see what's the difference between putting this one on the top of the reader. This one is a low frequency card, I am telling you, but you will notice that it is, because you are going to notice the difference of power consuming, because it's tuned at the same frequency. There, see the difference? At least a half. So with this, we're just running again. You see, the antenna is marginal. You know, it's because we have something in the field. So we now know that this token, this transponder, is working at the low frequency band. Okay? So let's move on. Okay. Now what we are going to try to do is to play with this access control standalone, really cheap entry system, but it's being used in a lot of places. You know, for example, in my country, they are installing these kind of systems in, for example, the front doors of buildings, just to access the building. So it's kind of a security problem on it. So what you have to do is to enroll the card by using all the manual. You have to enroll the different cards to it, and if it's enrolled, you will notice that you will pass. But if there is another, well, you'll see that if you present another token, it will do some beep. That it's an error, and it will not open the door. So what we are going to try to do is to sniff the information inside of this chip and see. Yeah.
Can you try my?
Yeah. That's another thing I'm going to tell you. If you want, I can try all your personal cards and see if we can say something on them. So if you have some cards, just no. Sit. I'm going to let me finish this part, and we will try. If you have some cards, do you want to, for example, for the university, for your work or something? Not the Troika, because we already tried. But if you have some cards, yeah, sure. I will go. I will approach to you. Let me show this, and we will try. Yeah, there.
Sorry, do we have a break inside the session?
Yeah. Now give me 5 minutes. Let me finish the emulation and cloning. It's 5 minutes more, and I will recollect all your cards. Yeah, I remember in 2013 in Moscow here. It was the first time some guy approached me and told me, "Hey, I want to buy." Oh, because I asked this in every conference I go. Hey, give me your cards. Let's try. I will give you some points just for you to to start digging with it later, you know. But maybe we can read it, we can see the UID all over there. And that guy approached me and said, hey, I want to buy all the UIDs because I want to enter IBM, I want to enter all these. I'm not doing that. Hey, come on, I know you are doing that. You have a DB of, because you are asking all the people always to, no, I'm not keeping any information at all, I promise. So, I don't, well. And that happened in Moscow in 2013. And that's a disclaimer I have in the full version. I will not keep anything. So, well, let's try. I will try this one later. So let's try the one we are going to hack here. So if you start doing the fingerprinting, you will notice that it's a low frequency type of card. And this type of, sorry, the microphone, yeah. And this type of cards, it's a EM4X type of cards. So, oh yeah, well, let's do it like this. There. So when you are familiar with this type of systems, you will notice that these type of cards are EM4X type of cards, and we are going to run the EM410X watch command. That is going to watch for this type of cards to approach the field of the radio frequency that it's sending the antenna and try to read the UID that is inside of this chip. These type of cards, we say that are UID only type of cards. They are really, really cheap. The only thing stored inside of this type of cards, it's a UID. So when you present this card in the system, it will just power it up, and the card will emulate the UID, and it will recognize by the transceiver and see if it's inside the database. If it's inside the database, it will let you in. That's it. They are UID only type of cards. So they have no memory. Well, in this type of cards, there is a very little memory inside of it, but for the practical point of view, it's just a UID only, and you cannot write nothing inside of it. It's just a read-only, UID-only type of card, passive, low frequency. Yeah, it's all the stuff we saw minutes ago in just one card. So let's try to run the command. Tiki tiki, tiki. I will not put it in the field and run it. Let's see if it's working. We have to give it time. Well, it's starting to try to see if something is near the field. Oh, because I pushed the button. Let's go again. Let's see. I approach it some centimeters. It should be faster. Let's see if it's working. I will show you with just after the break. I will show you with an Arduino how fast it is. They are doing a lot of new implementations. Oh, there. They are the guys implementing the commands for the Prox Mark are always putting a lot of information, a lot of new implementations on the code. So sometimes you will have to use different revisions. Well, you know, when the community is active, it's good. But sometimes when you want to do something in a conference, it's not as good because you have to deal with that. So there you have the answer. The important part of all of this is the tag ID. The EM tag ID is the one that this tag is sending over the air to the system, and that number that is 3400 blah 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 is the one that is going inside of it, and it's inside this little database. So we are going to try both stuff, emulation and cloning. Let's try emulation first. Emulation is what? Doing with another piece of hardware what is this another piece of hardware is doing. Okay? So let's try that. So LFEM for X, I will copy the number there. And if you look, you will see that there is a command called simulate a tag. So the Prox Mark is able to simulate what is going on inside of this chip. Okay? So let's try to run it. It's EM41X sim and read the fucking manual, UID. There. Let's run. You have to wait something, I believe. Yeah. See, there is a little typo there. Press to abort, not to about simulation. Well, shit happens. Let's wait a little bit. I promise that it will start soon. And you will go to the break. If it doesn't start, just disconnect and connect it back again. You know, it's open hardware, open source. You have to deal with it. TTT. I will copy this. It should be a little bit faster. I know that I upgraded to Yosemite OS X, and the communication, the serial communication, it's not doing that well. If you are using, for example, GNU Linux, you will see that it's a little bit faster. You know, when you are dealing with this type of systems, the operating system sometimes there. Let's see if it's doing. Oh no. Let's disconnect. I will exit. I will connect it back. Let's try it again. TTI, USB there, and there. Let's see. You know, I am approaching the antenna to the reader, to the, well, yeah, the access control reader, and it's not happened. There. Let's try it again. Well, shit happens. I don't know. When it should, I promise that it always happens, you know? Yeah, I know that you know. It should start sending the UID, and it will wait for a radio field to approach the antenna, and it will start the phase sending the UID over the air. But I don't know. Let's try one more time, but I promise it's working. You know, in your home it works, but when you are trying to show it, I don't know. No.
Maybe it's time to break.
Maybe, right? let me do the cloning. Let's see if the cloning part works. So, in order to clone, the clone will be, okay, I have another piece of hardware, but with the same shape, for example, this type of card, and I will clone the information of this card, the original one that is working, into this one. So, but in this case, there is, you cannot buy blank cards where you can write the UID inside of them. You cannot do that. But there are some special cards called T55X7 or Q5. There are two different types of cards. Inside of this type of cards, there is a little microcontroller and an antenna. And you can reprogram the microcontroller in order to behave like different type of chips. So what we are going to do is to try to reprogram the little chip inside of this card in order to behave as this same card, sending the same information that is a UID. But this type of card doesn't know it's a UID. It's going to just modulate the signal and behave like this one. So I will approach the card to the reader. So it's working just as this one, but with another UID that is not enrolled in that system. Okay? See, that's the difference. So let's try to insert the UID of this card inside of this card. So we are going to change the behavior of this card by running lf. It's an em4x command, and what we are going to do is to write. And if you read it, you have to specify the UID, and if you are using a T5555, that's the Q5 tag, or a 55X7 type of card. The one I have is the second one, so the number 1. But we need the UID, the one over here. So UID and 1. That's a command. So Prox Mark will send the frames in order to reprogram this card. Let's pray. In order to see if we can approach and clone this card. So in order to enter this building, I sniffed the information inside of this card and clone it into the other one. Okay? That's better than emulating, because you have, in order to do the emulation, you have to approach with the computer, the Prox Mark, and everything. But if you are able to clone it, that's better. And that's what Clone My Key company is doing. Yeah? So let's try to do it. I put the tag on the top of it, and you have to run it several times until there. Yeah, we have an answer. So let's see if we successfully wrote this card with this UID, behaving just like this one. Okay, let's see. Oh, no. Let's do it again. We have to. Maybe it's break time. No. Let's try it one more time, man. Come on. There. Let's see. No, it's.
Maybe you copied from UID?
Right. Your device may be tied to. No, there was two UIDs actually.
No. It's the EM UID that you have to use. No.
There was second.
What? No, there was a. Yeah, but
Unique ID.
Yeah, but the one that it's being sent to this system is the EM UID, not the unique ID.
But we don't know that.
Let's see again.
And can we sniff traffic, the actual traffic between the card and the reader?
Yeah, you can. I don't know if it's working because you need the Qt library in order to see the graphics. But if you run the data or the data command, you have a lot of different commands inside of data command, and one of them is to plot. Let's see if it's working. No, I didn't compile it with Qt, but if you compile the Prox Mark client with Qt ability, you will be able to see what is the modulation going. You will see the zeros and ones over the air in a graphical.
And there should be an easy way to sniff traffic between the reader and the card, just by, I don't know, when you just pass the card near the reader.
Yeah, but it's the same as just sniffing the information from the card, because it's the same stuff. Because when you are approaching the card to the reader, the information from the chip inside of the card, it's going to the reader, okay? But we know how to read it because there is no authentication at all. So you can just send the same frames as the reader is sending, and you will receive the answer. So there is no need to sniff. You know, remember that Jonathan, when first developed the device, created this to sniff the communication between a MyFair Classic and a reader, because in that kind of systems, there is an authentication phase. In this type of systems, there is no authentication at all. So in order to get the UID, you just send specific frames, and the card will answer. So there is no need to sniff what is going on. It's all specified in the datasheet. So let's run it again, and if it's not working, I promise you after the break. Let's run it again. Sometimes it happens. Well, let's see again. Ah, yeah, come on. There we go. Yeah. So we created a full clone of the So you have to just sniff the information of this card, paste it on this one, and you are entitled to enter the building very easily. So this is what is the cloning? What is cloning mean?
And
Okay.
why don't we check the number when we clone? When you did the cloning, why don't we check the actual number, the actual ID on the card?
It's the one over there.
No, I mean, you just cloned several times. You cloned it 3 times. Why don't you just check after the first cloning?
Yeah, because now this one is behaving as this one, so we can run the em watch command and see if the UID.
Why don't you do this before, after
Ah.
the first cloning?
Yeah. Let's.
No, there's no need to do this.
No, I know. But let's try to run it again. I have another one. Let's do it. Now you are going to suffer this. Let me look for there. I have another T55X7. Let's see. No, it's not working. So this is the EM tag ID that is being sent. So we know that this one is working, so we are going to keep it. So let's try to do the same, but with that one. That is not working. He asked for this, huh? There, let's see.
Not the same.
No. Data fetched. Wait. There. See, it's different. So let's try to write it now.
And read it again.
Okay, let's see if it's working. No, let's read it. You asked for this. It should be the same number, BBB.
Why we have to try to write several times? Why after first time, well,
Yeah, it should work at the first time, But, well, open source, open hardware. Yeah, BBB again.
It's not changed.
It doesn't, it didn't change. Maybe you have to, sometimes you will need to put something without any, for example, this box with nothing in the middle of the antenna. Yeah, in the middle of the antenna and the tag, or some difference between the tag and the antenna. Or maybe there is some.
Maybe that's because last antenna tune you made with the card.
No. We are dealing with radio frequency stuff, so sometimes you need to be not over the antenna, but maybe with some sort of difference between the antenna and the tag. Let's do it like this, and let's run the write command and see. Two months ago, this command was not working at all because someone touched that part and it broke. So, what I told you. It's open source and open hardware. The hardware part, it's kind of, it's working well, but the software part, it's under development, so it's going to change.
Do you have any stable releases to use for community?
Yeah. Sorry?
Don't they have any stable releases instead of?
Well, you can. I don't know if there are some stable releases that are. You are going to be able to be in your own release if you want, and then you will, There is no, operating systems, this is stable, and this all the night builds, Let's see. There you have, in the first shot. So maybe you will need some distance between the tag, and maybe there is some metal stuff under the table. Yeah, you see?
There could be a very simple check. When you write something, you should read something.
Yeah, of course.
When you implement the writing procedure, you should just check and then
If you,
wrote it correctly.
of course. Okay, go ahead, modify the Prox Mark source, commit it, and we are all going to be happy. Yeah, that's right. Maybe the write command should check if the UID that you wanted to write, it was really, it was okay. And if not, try it again. Of course, yeah. That should be smart, but
Is it understand correct? Why don't change the unique ID? Why change another one ID in this file?
in this one, why we use this one and not this one?
Unique is the same anytime, it's correct, and why change em tag ID not?
Yeah, the only one we are changing is this one, because the one that these systems are using is that em tag ID,
How do you know that?
because we tried. That's right.
You mean that you tried with this tag, then with unique tag ID and so on?
Correct. If you want, you can write this one, and you'll see that it's not going to work, because when you enroll the tag, the system is going to read the first one.
So just did the check in the past and you know for sure now that using this one.
Correct. Yeah. Of course. Remember that I always telling you about the fingerprinting process. You know, we are not by just looking at the card, we are not sure if it's low frequency, high frequency, if the system is using this ID, the other one. We have to do a lot of tests, of course. But for EM410X type of systems, all are using the one over here, the EM tag ID. If you read the implementation of this type of chips, you are going to notice that there are a lot of different patterns inside of a card. It's not just a UID only card. You can program a little password in order to access the memory too. But most of the systems are not using that. So we can tell that this type of cards are UID only without any authentication at all. If you read carefully the specification, you'll see that you have some sort of security characteristics of the chip, but no one is using it. Let's see the one over here. Let's see if we can read it. Huh? The one over there. So let's see if it's... We are going to try. No, we are not going to write it because we are not... Well, if you put this one and you run the write command, it will not do nothing. And if you are clever enough to check if you write it, you are going to see that you did not write it at all. So let's try the em watch command to the card that the guy over there gave me. And we are going to cut here. Let's see if we have some answer. Of course, the other thing I should do is to present this card. Oh, there. Of course. It's an EM410X type of card. Of course, it's not enrolled in my system, and it's working. So it's the same type of card. So you will be, I don't know, you're using this one for your company?
Yes.
Ha, really cheap. So, this one, I will copy this. I will put this one over here. And I will put the one over here. This one over... remember, let's try to... There. Let's do some difference between there, and I will have a clone in a minute of your card. Let's see if watch. I can also present the card, and if it's not working, we correctly write the UID. I'm not kidding. You can modify the source code in order to do what you said.
Maybe it's not a very good idea actually.
Why?
Endlessly write some data on the card with checking it put some endless cycle.
Maybe.
Because when you do this with some sort of space between the card and reader,
Yeah.
there should be some trick action. If you just put the card on the reader and I will write endlessly the data with the checks, you will just wait forever.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe you can implement a 3 steps.
5.
Oh.
Then you will want 7 or 7.
Yeah, but see, we wrote it, and it's not working, but this one is a real clone of the one over here. So maybe the reader in your company is not like this one, but it's doing the same stuff. So now we can enter H49 company or something, but using this one. Or maybe you can I don't know, you can stay at home, give it to some friend, so he can present his card, your card, and you are in. Hey, check the system. I'm inside the company. Yeah, that's right. So you can use it. So, well, we were lucky enough in order to clone really, really fast this type of cards. So, well, let's 10 minutes, 15 minutes. 10 minutes or 5, yeah, 10 minutes. 10 minutes and we are starting again. And if you want, there is another piece of hardware called, it's kind of new, it's called Hydrobus, and the Hydra NFC, it's a shield that it's going to be on top of it. So it's, again, an open hardware, and it's open source, all the firmware that it's going inside of the Hydrobus. It's also open source. So it's developed by Benjamin Bernux, and you can find all the information of it in the GitHub web page over there for the Hydra bus hardware. You will be the Hydra bus. It's a little piece of hardware that I have it over here. You will be able to do some tinkering with USB protocol, and here I have the development version. Ooh, I'm killing you, man. Sorry. You can take a look at it. You can pass it. So there you have the Hydra bus and the Hydra NFC shield on the top of it. So there are two different pieces of hardware. With the Hydra bus, you are going to do a lot of different advanced attacks on USB, debugging, or I don't know, develop some kind of USB devices, and it will support a lot of different shields, like Arduino's environment. But in this case, this guy also developed NFC support for this shield. So you can plug it on the top of it, and you will have an NFC enabled device. And it's cheaper than the Prox Mark, and the community it's trying to get a little bit bigger, and you, for example, in a future, you will be able to do everything as you are doing now with the Prox Mark, with the high frequency antenna for, of course, NFC devices, not the thing we did in like emulation and cloning low frequency stuff, because it's NFC and it's high frequency. But you will be able to do a lot of stuff with this little board. For example, as for now, you can sniff the transaction between a MyFair Classic and a reader. I will show you what is MyFair Classic in a minute. But as for now, he implemented the sniffing mode to sniff the very beginning of the Prox Mark. Remember, to sniff what is going on between the MyFair Classic type of cards and a reader? Well, it's starting to grow. So take a look at it. If you are going to buy it, send me an email, because I have a lot of contact with this guy, and he mentioned that, but he told me that if some of you is going to buy, if you are going to buy it, it's being sold by this. There is a Chinese company, Seed Studio. I don't know if you know it. Seed with 3 E's, I believe, and they are developing the board. And I have some coupons for a discount, 20% or something. So if you are going to buy it, shoot me an email and I will send you some codes, or I will put you in contact with Benjamin. So this is the board. the new one has the antenna not on the board that the one I'm showing you. It's connected by a little cable, so you can change it if you want. And there are some buttons in order to do, for example, some in a future you will be able to, for example, emulate some type of cards by pressing the buttons, or sniffing mode versus, I don't know, emulation mode, etc. So it's an open hardware solution, an open source solution for tinkering with these two. So, and it's cheaper enough. Maybe it's both components are $100, so it's 4 times less expensive than the other one, and it will be a really good piece of hardware in the future. But if you are doing some hacking with USB and sniffing the USB protocol, etc., it has 2 USB ports for you to play with, like for example, like a sniffer, etc. Well, it's a huge device, so it's small, but it's huge because of its implementations, etc. So, well, that's the board. For example, if you download the firmware, it's easy to paste or to put the firmware inside of it by just running the DFU utility in Linux or in OS X. You can run it, and you can just update the firmware by just playing that command, you know. And it's really easy to do. And Benjamin, of course, you have all the source codes of the firmware, but in order to compile it, it's not as easy because you will need cross compilers, etc. But for every version he releases, he will put the DFU, so it's the binary of all the firmware. So you just need to paste it in the hardware, and that's it. So it's really easy. As for now, you can just sniff the information of a transaction between a MyFair Classic and a reader, and I believe that you can also emulate the UID of a MyFair type of card. I am going to show you in a minute. So as for now, that's all we can do with this. And of course, you can, if you see, you have an SD card slot. So, for example, in a future, you will be able to, sniff different type of cards and save it in the SD memory, all in the same board, and you can connect it to, for example, to a battery. You know, those little batteries with 5 volts, like USB batteries. So you can just go with this little device and sniff the information and save it into the memory. So it's really cool. It supports up to 16 gigs, I believe, a 16 gigs SD card. So Arduino, what can we do with Arduino? Okay, Arduino, we have we are talking about RFID and NFC. So with Arduino, you have a lot of different stuff to do, but around RFID and NFC, you have 2 different shields in order to play with this type of cards. The one on the top is to play with a low frequency type of cards, and this chip is able to read the cards that I showed you some minutes ago. You remember the EM4X blah 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 type of cards? Well, with this shield, you are going to be able to listen. Remember the watch command to listen the information and sniff it from the card, and you are going also be able to write inside of a T55X7 card. So with this little boy, you are going to be able to do what we did with the Prox Mark. So, and of course, we are going to do this with some sort of tags, and we are going to be limited of the abilities of that chip. But if you're going to create, for example, I want to clone the card that the guy over there gave me, it's okay to build one cloner, full cloner with an Arduino. It's cheap. Maybe this the Arduino plus a shield will be $50, and you can build your own cloner. You sniff and you write with just a little machine. And the one over here, it's an NFC shield. The chip on this shield, it's the same as we have inside of an SSL 3711. So it's a PN 532. So this is the most well-known chip to play with NFC-enabled devices. The PN 532 and 533. You have some little differences between them, but those are the most known chips. So you can create your own reader-writer, for example, with this type of shields, or maybe you can run some peer-to-peer communications between two Arduinos. I don't know why, but you can do it. Let's do some. We have time, so let's try to create.
Don't you have the name of these shields for Arduino?
The names? I will give you. Let me show you. Wait. Where is the... here. It's a mess here. Okay. So, you can find these shields at, for example, Libellium. That's at the end of the training, you will see the shopping list and you will have everything. But I bought these ones from Libellium. It's IUM. Libellium. And it's the shield, the full shield. It's the Annex B Pro shield. I will give it to you when after using it. And the little one, you have to connect it to the XB socket, because XB, it's an open protocol. You can connect, for example, this type of chips with this antenna, or maybe you can connect an Wi-Fi XB shield or a Bluetooth shield. So this time I only have this one, and I will connect the Arduino Uno, or one. This is an Arduino Uno. It's nothing. The Chinese clones of Arduinos are really, really cheap, and they work just as the original one. So maybe this one is about maybe $10, and the shield kind of $30. So maybe for less than $50, you have a full cloner. So what I'm going to do first is to connect the Arduino, and let's see if it's working. So I don't know if you are familiar with Arduino, but what I'm going to run, I built a little program in order to sniff. Of course, the Arduino community is really big, so when you buy the shields, you're going to find a lot of resources to build code for that shield. So what I'm going to do is to connect the Arduino, connect to Mac. I will low frequency. I will open the sketch that has the code that will read. Here. Well, you will find this source code on the net, but if you want it, I will give it to you. It's really easy. You are setting the mode of the chip to read EM41XX type of cards. In this case, it's a 4102. They are all the same. And then there are two main functions: the setup, that it's only run at the first time when it's booting, and the loop function that it's going to loop all the time. So basically, we are going to waiting for a card, and if a card is near the field, it's going to try to read the UID like we did it with the Prox Mark. And if it's found the code, it will write it. So let's see if we can Arduino Uno, port Arduino, and let's see if we can upload it. I recommend you to disconnect every shield of the Arduino when programming it. Done uploading. So now I have the code running on it. So I will put the shield. Remember always to remove the shield before programming it. I will connect it. Connect to Mac. And I will run the serial monitor. Tiki tiki. 900. We need to be at the same. It's 19,200. So 19 here. There. You see, waiting for card. So you want to give me your card again? Or there, that one. I don't know if yours is.
It's actually
It's an iClass. I will save it for later. Yours?
I can give you card.
You? Okay. Oh, let's see if it's working here. Oh yeah, it's an EM. You see, we did a little fingerprinting, like just by presenting it to the. So this is another EM. See that they are pretty common. You know, two different cards, and both of them are EM41XX. So let's see if we can sniff. This one is another one. It's an iClass. Your company, it's kind of better. Or better system. So let's see if we can sniff it and see how fast is it. Look. There, code. And it's really fast now. So you can of course disconnect this, put some shield with an SD card, and you can connect, for example, a little battery, a 9 volts battery, and there. And if you see it's on, and now I have a little sniffer. And then if you are with your batch, I don't know, like this, hanging up like this, or maybe somewhere in your, I don't know, in your neck, like this, I can just go and stroop and sniff it. And there you have the UID. What I implemented is just an output to the serial monitor, just for just as a proof of concept, you know. Let's do it again, serial monitor, to see if it's working. Waiting for card. There. It's pretty fast, and let's see the distance we need. Well, at least 6 centimeters, 6, 7. So the code over there is the one that we have to clone in order into a T55X7 or a Q5 type of card, and then you will have to there. And I will enter the building as you do. So it's really easy. So, well.
Is it possible to improve the range of?
Well, it's the same question as you asked me a couple of minutes ago. It's possible, but the protocol itself is not prepared for that. But you can try to, for example, put some more power in the reader in order to go further. But the implementation itself is not prepared for that, and you can break the chip because you are sending enough current into the air in order to break the antenna, for example. Yeah, so you have to be very careful when trying to go further of the protocol. I saw some attacks doing that, but some cases they are not that feasible, you know. So well, with an Arduino you can run this, for example, and then you can, for example, connect the other one. It's a mess. Here. For example, I built a little. If you want, for example, create your own, I don't know, payment system for a kiosk or something, you can do something like this. You can. This is an Arduino, a Funduino Mega. It's an Arduino Mega with not Mega chip, and I stacked an NFC shield from Seed Studio. This is the one you asked me, from Seed Studio, and I put it on the top like this, and then I put it on the top of this one, a nice LCD display, 16:2, with buttons. So you can put it on the top of it. So now, if you just connect it to the computer, you can reprogram it, and you can present the cards here in the reader, and you can create your own reader-writer little device. I don't know. Or maybe if you find out how to deal with this type of cards, maybe you can just go with this little device and rewrite it and I don't know, travel the game, for example. I don't know, whatever. So this is, or again, for I don't know, $50, you can build your own little machine. So this is all about Arduino. It's really open. You will find a lot of information. I can give you the source code to read the low frequency type of cards. I have some different test sketches to read MyFair Classic type of cards that I will show you later. So if you want, I can send you. My card is over there, so hey, send me the sketches and I will send it to you. They are all around there. So this is all about Arduino. Any questions? Go.
One more question about antennas. Here we can see that all the antennas are pretty simple. It's just several coils of...
Of course, yeah.
Another kinds of antennas, maybe some more directed and so on.
Well, you have to have an antenna tuned to that frequency. I didn't see for low frequency and high frequency. I didn't see any antenna, a directional antenna, for example. For ultra high frequency, you know that those panels, those square panels I showed you in the first slides. I know that they are kind of directional antennas, but all the ones I saw in the past for low frequency and high frequency are all like this, loops. And for example, the one I have, this is a bracelet to wear to see if there is some electromagnetic fields. It's an antenna tuned to the high frequency to 1356 megs. So if you wear it and there is some electromagnetic field around you with 1356 megahertz, it will start blinking. I believe that I can show you with this one. Let me look for that. Yeah, when you deal with hardware, it's a mess. So I don't know if you see the red light blinking. So yeah, it's kind of crazy stuff, but it's cool. And this antenna looks like pretty similar to the low frequency one. You see the low frequency one here is it's pretty similar, but well, you can notice the difference. This coil, it's a little bit thicker, and this one you have more rounds than this one. You have to follow the specifications in order to build the different antennas. But I didn't see any directional. I don't know if it's possible. I believe it. You can. I didn't see it.
And any amplification? Have you heard about amplification for antennas?
Applications?
Amplification.
Ah, yeah. Well, you are putting radio frequency in the antenna, so the amplification phase it's before the antenna.
So have you seen some amplifications?
Ah, yeah, yeah. That's the question he asked me, and he asked too. So you can modify the amplification phase before the antenna, in order to go further. But always you are not doing what the specification is saying.
And
But
do you have any recommendations for amplification? I mean, some brands or...
Well, all the readers I saw have their own amplification phase on the same chip, on the same board. I didn't create my own reader, so I didn't build the amplification phase just before the antenna.
And have you seen something on the market for specific purpose
No.
for hacking or...
No, I didn't see that. I don't know if for ultra high frequency maybe yes, but I didn't deal with ultra high frequency devices, because for ultra high frequency you will need further distances, etc. With these kind of systems you will find fixed readers with fixed specifications. So maybe for ultra high frequency devices you will find some sort of amplification devices. Just to put it, maybe you are thinking about a backend system and an amplification phase and your big antenna. So maybe you are thinking about that.
There was a specific test sticker feed project with a big case.
Yeah, you are talking about the big case with a bigger antenna.
Yeah.
With-
It's called test sticker feed.
А на какое расстояние он там был?
3 feet.
Oh, 3 feet. So it's about maybe 1 meter, almost 1 meter.
So it's...
For HID type of cards,
1 second.
No, it's
Low
for
frequency
low
cards.
frequency.
Low.
As I know, they just used
Yeah, HID
Perking reader.
yeah, that's right. The one that I showed you in the one of the first slides, the big square one, that one. Let me show you. Tiki tiki.
It was presented
Here.
on the dev clone.
The one over here. He modified. I believe you are talking about this project. That he modified the one over there in order to go further of the specification.
It was HID Maxi Prox.
That's right, HID.
5375.
That's right.
That was-
HID is HID. It's the same company I'm showing you there.
It was 5375.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, he managed to be in the middle of the antenna and all the board that is running on this type of readers, and do some amplification of the signal. Yeah, that could be possible, but that's a hardware hack.
Okay.
You know, I don't know if HID is selling amplifications, amplificators. I don't know. For this type of antennas, I know that there are a lot of different type of amplification systems, because these ones are using ultra high frequency in the ultra high frequency band, so you will need some amplification phase in order to go further. But the ultra high frequency specifications let you do that. So, but all the readers and, well, NFC devices I saw, they all have their own amplifiers, and it's all in the same board. Okay, so Arduino, it's done. after the training, you can take a look at all the hardware, take a photo if you want to buy the same stuff. So, well, don't do this, for example. This is a picture.
Sorry, you should ignore.
Oh,
the video.
I hate you. Okay, so don't do this. This is a picture from the university I'm going. This guy is holding his Indala card, so anyone can just sniff the card of it and the UID and clone it. Seriously, don't do that. And well, be careful when you are holding your own badges. Try to hold it with you very carefully and not to put it on the table, etc., because someone can just sniff the information of it and, in some cases, clone it or emulate it. So if the Prox Mark is working, right, when emulation. So well, we are going to go inside the MyFair world, MyFair Classic in this case. So we are going to understand this type of cards and the hacks that were presented. So MyFair is a trademark from NXP. It's the other company that we mentioned. HID and NXP are the most well-known companies. And the MyFair Classic 1K these type of cards are being used in a lot of different countries, in a lot of different implementations. Most of them are for transportation systems. And for example, for loyalty cards, students cards, even ticketing for high-class events, for example, they give you one of these cards in order to buy, for example, some drinks at a bar. So you have some money inside of it, so you can use it as a little e-wallet, and it's really cheap. It's about $1. It's a $1 chip, so you can buy your own MyFair Classic blank cards for just $1. And if you buy thousands or hundreds, maybe you can get a better price. But it's just a $1 card. So this type of cards has a memory layout as the one I'm showing you here. You will see that you will have sectors, tick, 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 16 different sectors, and on each sector you will have 4 different blocks. So each sector has 4 different blocks. The block number 3 on each sector is called the sector trailer, which is going to hold the keys. I'm going to tell you what are the keys, but now we have some keys, so we have something to authenticate, and the access bits that are going to tell the sector what are you going to do with the keys. Okay, so and the block number 0 of the first sector is called the manufacture block. So the first sector, you will only be able to write 2 different blocks. So because the block number 0 of the entire memory is fixed by the manufacturer, where is the UID stored, for example. So that's you cannot change that. So basically, tick, 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 I will put it all over there. So the MyFair Classic 1K, you have 16 different sectors from 0 to 15, and on each sector you will have 4 different blocks. It's really easy. The data blocks are only 3. Okay, so if you do some math, you will have at least 756, if I'm correct, 756 bytes of information to store inside of the card. So it's called 1K, but the real data you can write it's 756. Okay, so in order to read the memory of each sector, you will need the keys. So and you will need these 6 bytes keys, and it will depend of what we are going to do, or what you are going to be able to do with these keys. on the access bits. So, for example, with the access bits, you can tell, okay, read and write everything of the sector with key A, but read only with key B. That configuration is possible by modifying the access bits. That's good. For example, if you are, I don't know, a government implementing a transportation system, you will hold for you, for example, the key A for reading and writing, and for example, companies that are only telling you the credit inside of the card, you are going to give them the key B for read-only purposes. So that company is not going to be able to write the card. Or maybe you can modify the access bits wherever you want. For example, with key A, read and write this sector, and read only this block, and read only these two blocks. You can do whatever you want inside of the sector with the access bits. So it's really you can manipulate the behavior of each sector as you want. Of course, the sector trailer, it's a block. So you can also modify the behavior of what we are going to be able to do with the keys, with the access bits, also for the sector trailer. For example, you can, I don't know, say with key A I can modify the sector trailer too, but with key B you cannot. So you have to hold the key A in order to modify the access bits. But if you have the key B, you cannot modify the access bits of that sector. You can manipulate everything, also the sector trailer. So as you can see, in order to read the memory, you first need to hold the keys. So we have 32 different keys. 16 keys A's and 16 keys B. Okay? And you will be able to do different stuff depending on the access bits if you hold them. Yeah? Wow. So right now it's not that easy as we did it before, just like sniffing or taking the UID and cloning it. Because I cannot read, for example, this block just by sniffing it. Because I need, for example, the key A in order to read this. And yeah.
Together we work like a lab system, peer-to-peer. You make a field,
Okay.
I get information, and you get answers from the
Okay. Okay. No, sorry. Just kidding. So the only thing that you are going to be able to read without any authentication at all is for example, the UID and the A2KA, the SAK values. Remember the very first thing I ran? Remember that? The anti-collision phase? That is the only the phase without any authentication at all. So the UID can be sniffed without any authentication. So if some system is using this type of cards, but they are using, for example, this type of cards just to do the same things as the other cards, just a UID-only system, going to the backend and saying okay or you're not okay, depending if it's enrolled or not, you can do some emulation there. Someone asked me, hey, if it's cheaper to clone than to emulate. Yeah, sometimes yeah, but in this example, for example, if you have some system working with MyFair Classic using the UID as an entry system, you have no, spoiler alert, you will have, but you will not have the ability to modify the UID of this type of cards. So you are not going to be able to create a clone. But, for example, with a piece of hardware like Prox Mark, you will be able to simulate or emulate the anti-collision phase of this type of cards, because it's really easy. And the anti-collision phase, and on the anti-collision phase, you will find the UID. that it's being sent to the backend system. So in that type of systems, in order to get inside the building, you will need to create an emulator because you don't have T55X7 type of cards in this world. You will have, but as for now, you won't. So, okay, so all the stuff around this is around the keys of this type of cards, because you are not going to be able to just read the information of the entire memory and paste it on another, because you don't have the keys. For example, if the Troika card is a MyFair Classic type of card, it is not, but let's try to think that the Troika card it's a MyFair Classic type of cards. Do you have the keys in order to read the information that is inside of the card? You don't have. Only the government or maybe the company that implemented the system holds the keys. So all the story behind this is to get the keys, basically, right? Okay, so this is marketing stuff from NXP. We have the MyFair Classic crypto algorithm is a highly cost-efficient authentication and data encryption method. So you will have a mutual authentication phase, because the keys are not going into the air from the reader to the card to read it, because it will be very easy to sniff it and get the key. It's a really cheap version of a Diffie-Hellman algorithm. Okay, it's a mutual authentication scheme. So, but it's a highly cost-efficient authentication. It's not a Diffie-Hellman per se. So, and you have the authentication scheme, and then you will have the data encryption method. So it was designed for maximum performance, blah, 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 versus in 2007, so more than 7 years ago, 8 years ago, in the CCC Congress, some guys, Nolan Plots, they are really well known in the security community. They are breaking all the crypto stuff in SIM cards, GSM, etc. They gave a presentation on MyFair Classic type of cards, a lot of vulnerabilities, and they remember that the guy from Prox Mark sniffed the authentication between the card, this type of cards, and a reader. Remember that the very first beginning of the Prox Mark was for that, just for sniffing the authentication phase between the card and the reader. Okay, what is going on this authentication, mutual authentication scheme? So that's an approach. They did what they did is to using a microscope and in-depth photographs of the chip, they managed to understand the crypto that was going on between the cards and the readers. Yeah, awesome. It's a painful task because it's a 1 millimeter. You see, I have one. I will give you one. TDD. Just for you to see. Just a second. Well, it's on this. Here. Any questions in the meantime? Nothing?
And do you have a slide with
Here.
authentication?
Sorry?
Do you have a slide for authentication phase? For MyFair Classic authentication phase?
Wait,
I mean the process.
I will show you.
Okay.
Just in a second. This is a MyFair Classic 1K chip. So they managed to cut it in several different layers in order to see the gates that are implementing the crypto inside of the chip. So that was a painful process because the implementation of the mutual authentication scheme was not open. So it was not, hey, we are using this type of algorithm. No, it was closed. So, well, when it's closed, someone is going to break it and publish all the information. So they managed to understand everything of the chip. So that's the dark side of the socks. You know, we have the nicest in the marketing stuff and the dark side, which is not that cool. So after a lot of work and years of trying to break this type of cards, a lot of problems came out. For example, the first thing you can try is to make sense to do some brute forcing on the 48 bits. It's a 6 bytes key. So you can just put some reader, try the first key, okay, no, try the second, and leave it. So that's a first approach. It will be maybe forever or maybe a lot of years, but it could be an approach because the keys are only 6 bytes. That's another one. That's another kind of attack. Another kind of attack is, for example, this one is a special one because you can record, for example, 2 challenge-response exchanges, 2 real authentications, and then you can, if you know the algorithm, you can do this brute forcing, but inside of a chip, implementing the specification of the mutual authentication. Inside, for example, an FPGA array. So you can implement, if you know the implementation of the algorithm, you can implement it inside of a chip and try different keys, but inside of the chip, without speaking with the card itself, without doing the authentication itself. So, if you have 2 different challenge responses, you can compare the result of doing it inside of the chip, and if both different challenge responses are the same as the key we are trying in one step of this attack, you will see that it will be the same for the 2 different challenge responses. So that is the key that was used in both challenge responses. So that's another approach in order to try to crack the key that was used in that authentication, okay? So that's the first authentication. So the other problem that they found is that this one. You know that for crypto you need a really good random number generator in order to feed it, to feed for example, the cipher, in order to start with a new state, in order to have different states each time, not to do some crypto analysis, okay? So, but what happened in MyFair Classic type of cards? Each time you connect to the card, for example, you put the radio frequency into the air and the card is powered up, the number of clock cycles between the tag is powered up, because you can control that. You can control that by what? By sending the radio frequency into the air, okay? And the time that that random number is extracted from the random number generator that is going to be used in the authentication scheme, that time, if you are able to be constant every time with that time, you will be able to get the same random number from the state of the chip, because it's a state machine. So every time it powers up with the same condition, and after some time after some clock cycles, you will be at the same. If there is no other, I don't know, random feed in order to change that behavior, you will have the same random number after the same clock cycles. So if you are able to keep that in the same condition, you will be able to get the same random number, and that same random number will be fed inside the authentication scheme that is going to be used in order to answer all the questions between the reader and the writer. So you will be able to control some part of the exchange well, after all of this, you will be able to keep fixed some parts of the bits on the communication. Some part you are not going to be able to fix, but with this information, you can do some crypto analysis. So they managed to, with different challenge responses, maintaining the same condition, they get to the key that was used in that authentication. So all of these attacks are explained inside of this URL. I will give you the three main sources with the three main attacks to it. This is just an intro. You can read the full white paper. So basically, the crypto inside of the MyFair Classic is we have some sort of diagram of the crypto. Of course, this was not published by NXP. This was all taken from the research of these guys. So they managed to reproduce the mutual authentication scheme that is being used inside of the MyFair Classic type of card. So basically, it has a linear feedback shift register, 48 bits, and also they found that some of these 48 bits, if you modify the state of each bit, the output will be the same. So maybe you can control, there are a lot of attacks that basically when the technology is it's getting older, a lot of different attacks are appearing. So basically, this is the crypto one. That's the name of the authentication scheme that it's being used by this type of cards. So yeah, it was broken. So yeah. So basically, for a MyFair, the history here is to recover the keys, right? So we need the keys, or we have to recover them from the reader, because inside of the memory of the reader, we have the keys, because the reader has to authenticate to the card. And inside of the card, you will also have the keys, okay? So the story here is to get the keys. Basically, 4 different attacks were published for this. The first one is called Crypto1. It's a joke of the Crypto1 algorithm, okay? So if you are able to sniff one valid trace between a card and a reader, you will be able to get the key that was used in that authentication. For example, if you are traveling with the card and you are presenting that, the first thing that is going to happen is the anti-collision phase and then the authentication phase. So in that first authentication phase, one key is going to be used. It's not going into the air. But if you are able to sniff that trace, you can go back in the time, because you will have the key stream. You will not have the key itself. But you can go back in the time that in some part of the algorithm, the key itself is being fed inside of this algorithm. So you can do some rollback of the algorithm, and just by sniffing one valid authentication, one valid trace, you will in less than 1 millisecond, you will have the key. So it's like it's like a Diffie-Hellman for the poor people, right? So if you are able, if in a Diffie-Hellman scheme you are able to do this, it's all cracked, and we are all in hell. But well, this is their implementation, and they found that it's broken. So with a only valid trace, you can get the key, and that's not good, right? So the other attack that was published is called the MFOC attack. And what can you do with this? For example, do you have one key of the entire memory? Remember that we have 32 different keys. And by the manufacturer, when they sell the cards, they will say, okay, these cards are all with zeros, and the keys are all Fs, for example. We have some default keys, right? There are different default keys. It will depend on the manufacturer. But for example, all Fs, all zeros, A0, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, and different default keys. Or maybe you got one key using this technique. Because with this technique, you are going to be able to recover only one, the first key that was used in the first authentication. You follow me? So with this attack, if you were able to sniff this and get one key, or if one of the 32 keys is known, because it's when the people implementing the system, for example, the transportation system, forgot to change it, and maybe it's all Fs, with only one key, you can run the mfoc attack and get the other 31 keys. And it's called the nested attack. It was published by a researcher, and it's all published in a very nice white paper. All the attack is really, really nice described. So with only one key, you can get the other 31. And that's really, really awesome. And yeah. Sorry?
How the second attack works?
This one? Well, it's a long story, but you know, in the first, when you present the card at the first time, the machine will authenticate, and that's the first authentication. You will recover this. But if the system is, for example, reading one part of the memory and then the other one, in order to read another part, that's another sector, you need to re-authenticate. Okay? But that authentication, it's already inside the encrypted channel of the very first. Yeah? So this attack is doing some sort of manipulation because you already know the first key. So you're already authenticated in one sector. So you need to authenticate into another sector. So, but you know some bits, or you are able to manipulate the very first encrypted channel. So by modifying the state of that channel, you will be able to leak some part of the bits of the other keys. So that's why in this case you need one key, because you are already authenticated, but in one sector. Remember that you have 16 sectors, and you have the key B. For example, if you get the key A with this one, you will need the key B. So you need to re-authenticate in the same sector using the key B. And with that information, you will leak some bits of the other key. And that's why this attack is called nested, because you are nesting different authentications, leaking bits of the keys. Because, well, it's a long story, but the LFSR is not using every bit. So if you control some of the bits, the output will be the same. So you can control that. I will give you the source of the white paper, and you will get it all over there. So the other attack is, okay, no default keys, get a key. This one is the prettiest, newest one. It's called the dark side attack because of the dark side of the socks. It's a long story. You can read it on the white paper. It's implemented in the mfoc. Yeah, it's fucking the MIFER, but sorry for delays. But it's implemented in the mfoc program. mfoc and mfoc are using libnfc, so they need libnfc, and you can run these programs using, for example, the SSL 3711, the little black one, the dongle. I'll show you. So you can recreate all these attacks just with $30. So that's awesome. And with this type of attacks, it's what we call the card-only attack, because we don't need to approach to a real reader in order to sniff and crack. In order to get one key, we only need the card and some time. So you just need to put the card inside of the reader, run the program, and get one key. Awesome. And of course, you will get one with a little bit of effort. but then you will have the nested. So with these two guys over here, you will be able to recover the 32 keys. And with the 32 keys, you are going to be able to read the entire memory now. So that's the story behind this, okay? And there is a new one called the reader-only attack. This is kind of new. It was mentioned in these papers. Each attack is all explained in different papers, you know. But in one of these papers, some of the researchers said, yeah, but is it possible to even extract the key from a reader without even having a valid card? That is awesome too. So you are extracting the key from the reader who holds it, but you are going to say, hey, give me the key there. So is there any legit reader near the neighborhood? Okay, approach to it, run some program, and extract the first key that is going to be used in the first authentication. Then you have the first key, run nested on the card, and you have the 31 keys.
Sorry, but we need to finish. We have only 5 minutes.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck. Okay, we are going to go really fast. So we have 4 different attacks in order to get all the information. So, well, you will be able to get the slides. Crypto1, it's an open source implementation. Then, blah, blah, blah. And you asked me for the authentication phase. The authentication phase looks like something like this. There is an anti-collision phase saying, okay, I will talk to you. Hey, card, I will talk to you. I select you. Okay, I'm selected, the card says. Okay, now you are going to send, okay, send me one random number. This is my random number encrypted with the key I know. Okay, this is the exchange. So you will have, basically you will have in a pretty nice authentication scheme, when the reader is legit and the card is legit, you will have, of course, the UID, which is open. You will have the tag challenge. You will have the reader challenge, and you will have both answers, the reader response and the tag response. That's a mutual authentication scheme. But we know that with Crypto1, we can, with these challenges and these responses, we can go back in the scheme because we know how it works. And with the key stream, we are able to recover the key, and that's not good, but that's good for us. So if you have this information, you just press crack key, and in a millisecond, you will have the key that was used. Okay. Think about Diffie-Hellman algorithm. If you are able to sniff, the challenges, but you are not able to go back in the time and get the key that is going to be used for the symmetric conversation. So that's a crypto. Then I told you that mfcook and mfoc, you have all the information here. Take a look. This is the papers for recover keys with a valid reader. That's the crypto. Then escalating from one key to any keys. That's the nested attack. And then the common prefix attacks, it's the one I told you that it's the dark side attack. With only one card and without having a reader, we can extract the key. So, believe me, it works. So we have another, so we learned that we have UID-only type of cards, low frequency, for example, where you can extract the UIDs, clone it, and it's really simple. Then we have some implementations in some cards with keys, but sometimes those keys are really easy to get with some attacks. And for example, the I-class type of cards, the girl over there gave me one type of these cards. You will see that this type of readers, if you see this type of readers, they are all I-class type of readers, high frequency at 1356 megs, and there is some type of memory inside of it, and in order to get inside the buildings, they are using some sort of mutual authentication too. But the thing here is that the keys all around the world are the same. So the keys inside of the I-class readers in all around the world are the same. That's the standard security for I-class type of readers. So every single reader around the world will be able to read the card. Then the information inside of the card is going to a backend, and if it's enrolled, it will let you in. But you can buy, for example, what are the problems here? That, for example, buying an Omni key, an HID Omni key 5312, for example, they are readers like the ones I showed you. Well, inside of those readers that you can buy, they hold the keys, because you can read and write this type of cards. So they manage to extract the keys from that readers by putting some cables on the chips, blah, 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 and they manage to extract the keys. So now the keys, they are not published all around there, but they are kind of well known. So the keys, in order to read standard security I-class cards, are disclosed, are almost disclosed. So any type of I-class card can be copied, read, decrypted, etc. So the story behind this is that you have authentication keys and encryption keys. The authentication keys will be used to get inside the memory, like the ones in MyFair. And then you will have encryption keys that HID I-class in standard security are using in order to save the information inside of the card. Okay? But both keys are all around the world the same keys, so they managed to get them. So if you are using a system with I-class security, it's also hacked. So there is no security at all. You can create clones. There are no I-class type of cards, blank type of cards. But you can buy any I-class, for example, the one that the girl gave me, and you can reprogram the I-class card with the information inside of it to behave like another one, because the UID is inside the memory. It's not a public UID that the system is using. And there is a high security that they call the high security version, is that they give you, if you paid a lot, they will give you the ability to change that key. Yeah, we are closing, yeah. So, but the high security one, it's really easy to hack. In the Prox Mark, you will have some HID I-class attacks. If you have some high security I-class readers, you can approach the Prox Mark, run one command, and you will extract the key. So all of the I-class stuff it's broken. Well, use cases all around the world are using MyFair Classic. They managed to, of course, each transportation system, for example, is using the information inside of the cards differently. So in order to hack different type of implementations, you will need to first crack the keys and read what is going on inside the memory. The first easiest attack is to crack the keys, read the memory, for example, travel, and paste again the first state. If you are able to do that, you can create your own backupper and travel forever for free. And you have a lot of other different attacks. Yeah. And 5 minutes, come on. They are all here. Come on. For example, remember the access bits where you can just put it in read-only version? Think on these pedestrian barriers type of systems. You know, if I have one card and I modify the access bits in order to put it in read-only, think about, okay, do you have money? Yes. Enough money to get inside the metro? Yes. Okay, open, click, and then write the new money. But it's open. But you know, when the machine is going to write, it will fail. But the barrier is open. So you create an infinite money card by just modify the access bits. That's awesome. You have to try it. Well, Vicinity Cards, well, we have no time, but Resources, closing. So, resources. Prox Mark Iii, tools, MyFair, iClass, 3 attacks. Shopping. What? So, shopping. All very good resellers. For example, this one is a really cool Chinese guy, xfpga.com. He's selling the Prox Mark for about $300. It's really cool. A lot of people is buying from him, so I don't have nothing to do with him. I just bought it in the past, and he's a really trusted reseller. And well, you will have all the information there. You can take my card if you want more information where to buy something, and I will reply you in a minute. So a lot of things we didn't mention, e-passport stuff. The guys who were talking about the e-passport stuff, you can try these 2 little URLs and take a look about hacking e-passport stuff. Yeah, there are a lot of information inside the slide, so take a little deeper look. So use the sources for the people who doesn't know how to compile, blah, blah, blah. There you have all the information how to do this. Yummy ideas, a lot of ideas. This is a video. You can find it here. You can read later. In this type of credit cards, you can sniff without any authentication at all the number, the name, and the expiration code. With that, you can just buy in some places without the use of the CVV number. So by just approaching someone with this type of cards, you can just buy something on the internet. Or maybe you can create a clone in a stripe, in a magnetic card, and then you can sniff them. There are a lot of attacks saying that you can sniff that information and paste it in the magnetic stripe and buy it using the magnetic stripe reader. So you sniff the information over the air and buy using the magnetic stripe. So that's awesome too. So countermeasures, we don't care. Read the countermeasures, be careful. NXP gives you a lot of information how to use they know that MyFair Classic is really fucked up, so they give you a lot of information how to deal with that if you're using that type of cards. So thank you, PhD people, and thank you for listening. And remember, you can take my card there. You have sweets from Argentina over there with dulce de leche. And mail me, send me information. My Facebook, I'm really open-minded. You can send me a lot of emails if you want. Add me on Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever you need. So, well, that's it. And thank you for attending.